This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a pre-Christmas edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you all. Check the festive background today for the program. Great to have you all with us. Lots to get to. It should be a real fun show. Ted Wyman's going to jump on with us first up. We will have Mike McIntyre, who I believe is a bit under the weather. Well, hopefully Mike will be able to get through it, but if not, we'll have a quick check-in with Mike. And of course, it's Friday. That means Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and a marble race. And of course, one more chance to qualify for the Tournament of Champions final next week, a week today, for our final show of 2022, when courtesy of Consolidated Supply will be giving away a pair of 2023 Winnipeg Blue Bombers season tickets. So make sure you're with us at 2:45 when we get going with the final marble race of the week. Going to be a great show. For first things first, though, of course, Consolidated Supply, big sponsors of ours and helping us with the Marble Race Tournament of Champions. Also want to thank the other sponsors that make this show happen each and every day, beginning with Coolbet Canada and Princess Auto, as well as Little Brown Jug, Canadian Club, Culligan Water, Vita Health Fresh Market, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, Manitoba Battery, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, and Not AutoCorp. Let's get Michael Remis in here as we say Merry Christmas and welcome to everyone in chat. Remo, what's going on? You staying warm or what? It's brutal outside.
It is cold out there. I'm like pre-starting and pre-starting my car at this point when I'm going out there. It's plugged in, bundled up. I'm thankful I shoveled a couple days ago so I don't have to do it again. Like, my hands are freezing. I pulled out the hand warmers that I bought for the West Final last year. Still got a box from Costco. So trying to stay warm, man. It's cold out there, but great to be here. Wasn't a win yesterday, but hey, right back on the horse tonight.
Yeah, right back at it against the Washington Capitals. And as I said yesterday, I don't think I can remember the Jets playing 5 games in 7 days before, but that's where we're at. Real packed schedule heading into the holidays. And of course, we'll get to last night's disappointing result in Boston, but a game that kind of turned on a couple of key plays, Remo. But, the Jets had a 2-0 lead after the first period. I thought we're very much in that hockey game and, poised to hand the Boston Bruins their first regulation loss of the season at home. I tweeted this out. I mean, we all know what the TSN turning point of the game was, that damn stanchion. And it's just basically a freebie to David Pasternak. It really sort of turned the game around. Obviously, a few penalties the Winnipeg Jets took, and we'll maybe get into the officiating in a moment, although I don't like to spend too much time on it, but I did think it was impactful in the game last night. But man, that was a real, real tough break. And I know we often joke about Connor Hellebuck playing the puck, and, Mitch is... his alter ego on YouTube is Helly's shock collar. That was certainly not on the goaltender at all. Just some terrible luck of it going off the stanchion. And of all people to be sitting there in front of a wide open net, being David Pasternak, a really unfortunate turn of events. And listen, a team like the Boston Bruins, who is the class of the National Hockey League right now, doesn't need much to go in their favor to win hockey games, but they had a few things starting with that. And I think we saw the relentless nature of the Boston Bruins and what's made them the best team in the National Hockey League so far in that second period and in the third period. And unfortunately for the Winnipeg Jets, they weren't able to get the goal they needed to get that one to extra time and give them a chance of coming away with 2.
Yeah, the turning point, definitely the stanchion. I joked that my 3 stars were 1, the stanchion, second star of the game were the referees, and the third star was David Pasternak, who was pretty awesome last night and showing that he's going to be getting a big contract after this season. But you look at that game, I thought, the start was great. You're up 2-0. You're showing that you can play with Boston, who was undefeated in regulation at home. But then you had the stanchion. I'm not going to sit here and blame Hellebuck. I think it's pretty, crappy situation there. You go behind the net. I know, Steve Dangle says if you're a goalie, tend the goal. I don't think that's a tend the goal situation. It just sucks. But some of the penalty, I will say, it did seem like a big playoff atmosphere. The crowd was way into it there when the Bruins were making the comeback. And it just felt after that stanchion play, the Bruins grabbed the momentum. They got a number of power plays. And this team is so good. You can't give them four power plays. The Jets only had 2. And I think that was kind of the difference. But it seemed like as it went on, Boston had some stretches with major possession. The Jets were caught running around. And especially on a couple of those power plays, just had a real tough time getting it out of their own end. And you've seen that earlier on in the year with the Jets when they're, hemmed in their own end for too long. It eventually just, it ends with a goal, and they have, you have so many chances to get it out, and they're not able to. So, I think you got to be happy with the performance, but maybe I don't know if maybe you'd like to see a bit better, better result win. But it was hey, that's hockey, right? That's what Rick Bowness said.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And as I said, it was just a really unfortunate break going in the favor of the Boston Bruins that got them right back into the game. I mean, the Jets had, done a good job on the power play even before that goal went in, or on the PK, I should say, of limiting. I don't want to say limiting the chances, because they did have a bunch of chances. That's what, a top-ranked power play is going to do against pretty much anybody. And we saw they kept on going to the right side of Connor Hellebuck, trying to whack it in on a quick tip in or a deflection. They finally got that one. I believe, was it DeBrusque that got the tip in a little bit later on. But it really did sort of turn on that first play, and then the penalties continued to pile up. The thing that was so frustrating, and as I say, I mean, like, bitching about the refs is usually a useless task, but I mean, I think it does need to be mentioned that, a couple of the Jets penalties that, were given to them were somewhat chintzy. And listen, you can handle that if it goes both ways. And then Pierre-Luc Dubois gets high-sticked in the face right in front of the referee, and there's no call on that. So it was a little frustrating. I'm not sure whether things were entirely fair and balanced, if you will. I'm not suggesting that there was any sort of an agenda. It was just the way that it worked out. But man, if you're giving a team like the Boston Bruins a free goal and a few extra opportunities on the power play, it's going to be tough to win. And the Jets found that out the hard way, as the Boston Bruins really flexed in the second half of the game and showed why they're the best team in the league.
Funny, I'm sitting there watching that game, be like, so this is why Boston's undefeated at home, Hustler. They get all the calls, as you mentioned. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Dubois high-sticked in the face in front of the ref, and they don't call it. Like, what are you supposed to do at that point? And I know Kenny and Randy were discussing, well, because maybe Dubois didn't sell it enough, or he sold it too much. Who cares? Sticks in his face. It's under the visor. It doesn't matter how you react. It doesn't matter if if there's no reaction or you're lying on the ground. At the stick in face is a penalty. And when the Bruins are getting all the calls and the Jets aren't, I think it does put you in a tough situation. So kind of disappointing there that, hey, you have a chance for a little bit of a break and you don't get it.
It's funny. I did listen to that back and forth between Kenny and Randy, and
they went on forever.
I was listening later, so it wasn't live, but even I would have been in the chat doling out some wake ups for that one. I don't know. It was an interesting take that Sean had on that one. Listen, it's a high stick in the face right in front of the referee. How the hell is that not called? And it doesn't matter what a guy's reputation is or how many high sticking or how many penalties he's drawn so far this year. It doesn't get much more cut and dry obvious than that. And it was an egregious missed call by the referees at a time where, I mean, we all know how this works. If there was ever a time to maybe give one the other way, that was it. And it was frustrating. I'm sure Rick Bowness wasn't very pleased about it on the bench as well as it happened last night.
Jeff asked Scheifele and Bowness about the penalties, and they just gave Scheifele's just like, I'm not gonna
stock answer.
You have to. Well, he has to ask because we all watched the game. It was certainly, you noticed that some calls were getting called on Boston, and the same stuff wasn't getting called in the Jets' favor. So you got to ask. And Bonesley says they call what they call, and Scheifele says I'm not gonna talk about it. So credit to Jeff. It seemed like he was going solo there, asking all the tough questions after the game.
I don't know if there was many other people out there with him.
How can anyone get out there?
Well, listen, we're going to talk more about the weather bomb that's happening. Is going to be very impactful in the National Football League schedule tomorrow and Christmas Day. And of course, we got to talk about tonight's game against the Washington Capitals, and a long history of Alex Ovechkin scoring big goals against Winnipeg. Will he do it tonight? I guess we will find out. But before we move on to tomorrow's game, let's hear a little bit from Rick Bowness and what he thought about his Jets' performance yesterday in a tough, hard-fought loss against the number one team in the National Hockey League.
Well, the penalties hurt us in the second. Face-offs hurt us the whole game. They dominated the face-off circle. So, yeah, we survived. You know, we did a really good job in the first. The goal off the first goal, there's not much you can do about that. That's hockey. But it was the penalties, the 3 penalties in 9 minutes that took away all our momentum. And that hurt us, without a doubt. And then the face-offs were a big factor as well.
All right, penalties and face-offs. And you know, Reem, face-offs have been a topic all season long. It has not been a strength of the Winnipeg Jets. I think it's been a big reason why Kevin Stenlund has found himself with first of all, a spot in the middle when he was recalled and moving David Gustafsson off to the side. And as great as the Jets centers have played offensively, Mark Scheifele, Pierre-Luc Dubois in particular, and Adam Lowry, there hasn't been anyone that's really been consistently dominant in the face-off circle. And that's exactly what the Boston Bruins are. And when the Bruins are starting with the puck more often than not, it just makes it that much harder of a hill to climb to beat a team of that quality.
Boston, they're such a good team. We talked about their depth, how many top scorers they have. And yeah, when you give these guys the power play and they start with the puck, as Rick Bowness mentioned on faceoffs, you're putting them at an advantage. And look, you give this team a couple advantages like power plays and in possession, they'll put the puck in the back of the net. And I think the first one's certainly lucky, but they rolled a power through, and you really saw them grab the momentum as the game went on there, and were able to get the win with the late third period goal.
Let's hear from Bones about what happened in the first period, including his thoughts of the Jets getting on the board to open the scoring.
Yeah, that's hockey. You got to,
wait, which one was that? Which clip was that one?
2.
Oh, that's on the first goal. Sorry, first goal against us.
Okay. Sorry, this is
my bad.
The
stanchion goal.
This is him talking about the stanchion goal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hockey. You got to, you've got to overcome those things. There's not much you can do about it, right? It's a harmless shoot-in that goes to their best goal scorer. Sometimes those things just happen, and you just have to find a way to overcome.
There's 40 years of experience rationally discussing a really bad break that was a huge part of turning that game around in the favor of the Boston Bruins after the Jets got up 2-0 early on. The other thing the Jets did quite a bit was, as we've discussed, spend time shorthanded. Here's Bones on the amount of time his team was shorthanded and how it looked when they were.
Yeah, that's their top power play in the league. And you lose the face-offs again, and you're killing penalties, and you're spending too much time in your zone with the penalty kill. So you try to stay out of the box as best you can against a team like that is so good on the face-off circle and so good with the power play, and then those things hurt us.
Well, Bones, alluding to those face-offs again, and I mean, honestly, you got 2 minutes at a deficit of one man. If you're able to win a draw or two during that, power play, you're probably cutting off 10 to 15 seconds per one faceoff. Well, that wasn't really happening. And, when you have that much time and that much puck control for a power play of the quality of the Boston Bruins, it could very well end up in the back of the net. And it did. That being said, the team was tied going into the third period, and Rick Bowness talked about the situation his team was in after 40 minutes and a real tidal wave of momentum for Boston since they scored that opening goal.
We talked about it after the game. That's the best hockey. That's the best team in the league right now, and we battled them right to the end. Our guys worked very, very hard tonight. They did. They battled hard. So that's all you can ask. So you'd like to see a few more shots on net, yeah. A little more pressure on there, yeah. But the guys did work hard, and again, that's the top team in the league. So we were right there with them right till the end. And our best goal scorer had a great day. They scored on their chance from the slot. We had the same opportunity, and we just missed the net. That's hockey.
All right, there's Rick Bowness, and man, he is referring to that play at the final seconds of the game, Reem, and with about 10 seconds left, it seemed like it was over. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Josh Morrissey that got it up to, I believe, Adam Lowry. And all of a sudden, with like 3 seconds left, Kyle Connor is all alone in front of Jeremy Swayman, but wasn't able to hit the net. And that was one of those, in a lot of ways, it sort of described the game overall, in that the Jets did some good things, had some chances, but just came up short against a team that made the most of theirs and got a freebie earlier in the game.
You saw them passing it around and trying to set something up. It seemed like they weren't going to. And then next thing you know, they had a zone entry and Kyle Connor's all alone. It would have been crazy. I mean, that's the guy you want with the puck on a stick, at a chance to tie the game. Warnett wasn't able to do it, but made it exciting to the end. And I think, look, they went toe-to-toe with one of the top teams in the league, and Bones was asked about injuries. He's not going to make excuses, but, they had all their injuries earlier. They had McAvoy out. They had Marchand out. And the Jets are now still missing Ehlers, Wheeler, Schmidt, Appleton. So it's certainly in a tough spot, but hey, you got to play, who you have. So I think you got to be happy with it was, but you would have liked to see them get the 2 points, and maybe it is a missed opportunity, but they'll have a chance to get back on the horse. I'm curious how it's going to go tonight in Washington on a back-to-back coming off a loss.
Well, and certainly we'll see how. We don't really have any information because with no morning skate today, with the travel and getting ready for the game, but Cole Perfetti nicked up at the end of the game. Here's just one more clip from Rick Bowness on the injuries that his team's dealing with right now.
They're healthy, we're not. Yeah, simple. That's.
I don't want to call it a silver lining, but there's something.
No, they're healthy. And when you're the best team in the league and they're all healthy, then that's good for them. Lucky for them. We're banged up, obviously, but again, I give our guys credit. We're not making any excuses. We're playing hard.
All right, so there's Rick Bowness. No excuses, playing hard, but and they're up against it right now, and you hope that Cole Perfetti and everybody that finished the game last night for the Winnipeg Jets will be able to go tonight, because it's the Alex Ovechkin show. 1 goal behind Gordie Howe's 801 for his NHL career, Reem. And I don't think I need to remind anybody in the chat room or listening to the Winnipeg Sports Talk podcast right now about the historic success of Alex Ovechkin at lighting the lamp against this Winnipeg Jets franchise, dating all the way back to the Thrashers days.
Oh, you don't want to remind them? I was gonna remind them then.
I said we don't need to, but we certainly can.
Yeah, well, Ovechkin did score another milestone goal against the Jets, number 600 on March 12th. 2018, and yes, he's scored more goals against the Jets Thrashers franchise than any other team. I did notice this from the game notes, and I said this to you. The Jets haven't won a game in Washington dating back to January 22, 2013. Since that date,
nuts.
This is crazy. They are 0-5-4 since then. They've lost 4 of the past 5 in Washington in overtime or a shootout. Washington. I think I saw people mentioning in the chat that the Jets never have success in Washington. There are the numbers: 0 wins since 2013. And Alex Ovechkin, he needs 2 more to score past Gordie Howe. He did set the all-time record for shots on goal yesterday, passing Ray Bourque. I mean, you're watching a living legend here, and I'm really hoping, I was hoping last night that he would score and pass and tie Gordie Howe, but I think he was saving it for Homas. He had 2 assists yesterday. He wasn't shooting. He knew he wanted to come home, and he knew he was playing. He figures guaranteed goals against the Jets, and hopefully the Jets can stop him. We don't have to watch another historic celebration against them. That wouldn't be a great Christmas, huh?
Well, put it this way. I just hope the Jets can light it up on the other end, because I think it's more likely than not, to be perfectly honest, that Ovi gets on the scoreboard tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. It just seems like that is the way that it goes. And it wouldn't surprise me. He often does it in bunches if he gets a couple. But I would take, I think Phyllis said in chat, Ovi scores, but the Jets win. And we'd all take that. I mean, I don't mind watching history. The bottom line for the Winnipeg Jets, though, is, I mean, they had that nice win on Tuesday against the Ottawa Senators, and were able to outscore some of the ups and downs of their play, I think is a safe way, going back to the way Rick Bowness described it. And last night, a hard-fought game against the best team in the league. They didn't have anything to show for it in the standings, and they'll look to try and grind out a couple more points tonight. But the big story of tonight's game, of course, is not going to be on the Winnipeg side. It's going to be the guy wearing 8 in the C in Washington red.
Here are the numbers that I've been looking to find us. Alex Ovechkin, in his career, against the Jets Thrashers franchise, 70 games, 51 goals, 44 assists, 95 points. That's almost like a full season's worth of games. So, back-to-back on the road. I'm actually looking, if you're looking at betting, I looked at all the home teams tonight. It just seems like if you're on the road, you just want to get out of there and get home. And a lot of teams are playing back-to-backs too. So I think the Jets are definitely against the 8 ball here.
Fade Remis time. Jets on the road. Money line. Let's do it.
I want to take Ovechkin in on fantasy, but I don't know. It's always tough taking guys against the Jets. At least when the Jets are playing well. When the Jets were doing bad, it was more fun because you knew that you felt like you knew them better than any other team. Anyway.
Well, as I say, I'm not here for any emotional hedging tonight. Hopefully we'll see what they can do. 6:00 start tonight. We'll talk about it more with Mike McIntyre, and with Ted Wyman coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing who's on Ted's naughty and nice list as we head into Christmas coming up on the weekend. Hey, just before we do that, do have to give a big shout out to our friends at Consolidated Supply. Don't forget marbles at the bottom of the hour. They are going to be closed next week, but start thinking about 2023, some of those projects, landscaping, outdoor kitchens, hot tubs, or maybe that golf cart to get you around in the summer on the lot. It's all there. Consolidated Supply, 1395 Niagara Road East. And when they open up again after being closed next week, you can find them. And listen, you can find them 24/7, 365 on their brand new expanded website at cte.ca. Of course, it's the holidays right now. There's many people in need, and there's a lot of great folks in Winnipeg and Manitoba that are doing their part to make Christmas a little brighter. But the spirit of volunteerism and helping out the community goes 12 months a year, and that is what we want to hear from you, WST listeners, for our Unsung Hero program, along with Wallace & Wallace and Jets defenseman Josh Morrissey. Send us an email to unsunghero@winnipegsportstalk.com and tell us about the person in your life, in your community, that's making an impact through volunteering, spending their time helping out, whether it just be in and around the holidays, doing things like helping out the cheer board, Red Nose and whatnot, or making an impact through a variety of charities that are so important at this time of year. But it can be more than that too. I mean, people that are incredibly active and helping minor sports happen. Hell, the referees are unsung heroes, if you ask me. It's wide open. Unsung Hero at winnipegsportstalk.com. Our winner for December will get an autographed Josh Morrissey jersey, and we'll also, Wallace & Wallace will be making a $500 donation to the Dream Factory in the name of the Winnipeg Sports Talk listener that nominates December's Unsung Hero. And even better, Josh and Margot Morrissey are going to match that $500, so another $1,000 going to the Dream Factory, of which Josh is an important ambassador for. Hey, I'm not sure if you're all completely set for Christmas, but if you aren't, you still got a little bit of time. And you can shop local for the holidays with a quick stop over to Vita Health Fresh Market. Give the gift of health with a Vita Health gift card, some essential oils, candles, bath bombs, chocolates, and so much more. You can also stock up on some of your favorite holiday food items like stuffing, cranberry sauce, non-alcoholic wines and drinks, plant-based turkey options, and more. Vita Health Fresh Market, a great local company, family owned and operated since 1936 with Winnipeg's largest assortment of local products. empowering people to lead healthy lives with 7 Winnipeg locations, including the newest store in Linden Ridge, and online at myvita.ca. And a big happy holidays to Kelly, Ryan, Matt, and the entire great team over at Vita Health Fresh Market. All right, let's welcome in the always jolly Ted Wyman of the Winnipeg Sun. Ted, what's going on, my friend? Best of the season to you.
Well, same to you, Huss, of course.
I can't hear Ted, Reem.
You can't hear Ted?
No, I can't hear Ted. Ted, give me a...
I can hear Ted. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, you're not putting him through to the...
I never... That's odd.
To the host.
Okay, one sec. I'll do something.
With the most. I can hear you very well.
Okay, this should work now.
Ted, what's up?
How you doing, Huss?
Ooh, that was weird, Reem. So there is something up with this.
I don't know what's going on. Here, Ted, maybe come out and come back in. I don't have any.
Yeah, Ted, can you just go out and then re-enter? That would be great. See if we can make that happen with
I
Ted.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's doesn't make for a good interview when the host cannot hear what.
Yeah,
what
I'm not sure why that would be. I think the wires are crossed there. My only
That's bizarre.
explanation.
They said we can hear that. The people in the chat can hear Ted.
Yeah. Hey, wait. Can you hear Ted now? Give him.
All right, Ted, what's up? I can hear you now. We're all good. I don't know.
Give it 1 second. Let me load him in so everyone else can hear him. I don't know.
I don't know
weird what that was.
Yeah, a weird little audio. Is the audio gremlin? Maybe the WST audio gremlin is back in town for Christmas and just decided to make a bit of an appearance. But of course, Ted Wyman of the Winnipeg Sun with us right now. We got a whole bunch of things to talk about as we get into Christmas. But first up, how are you, my friend? What's up?
I'm great, man, and we always have lots to talk about. But I must say, this has been quite a special month, hasn't it? In terms of sports, just with the World Cup, the way everything ended there. The Jets are playing really good hockey, and it's enjoyable to watch them. There's no question about it. Every game seems to be pretty entertaining, and the Bombers are bringing back all their, bringing the full core back basically, and looking to reload and try to make up for that loss in the Grey Cup. So, I think if you're a sports fan around these parts, you're probably pretty happy going into Christmas.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It has been a great run. And listen, we got to mention the start of the Rick Bowness era. And I know you obviously follow everything in the Winnipeg sports scene. But you've been around for a long time. You know where the organization was at the end of last season. You're very familiar with where the fan base was at in the off season and the challenges that they've had to sort of get this turned around and maybe get some people back on board. It's really hard to put into words just what an incredible job Rick Bowness has done and how far this team has come in the 30-odd games since they started under their new head coach.
Well, isn't it funny, too, because we all know that the Jets wanted it to be, Barry Trotz. They had their eyes on some other people as well. Rick Bowness was not the first choice for this team. But if you were looking back now, you'd say, how could there have been a better choice than Rick Bowness for this team? Because he's able to push the buttons that just weren't being pushed with this group. He was able to bring them together. They're much more cohesive. He's unleashed some players who didn't, maybe weren't living up to their full potential because maybe their coaching wasn't wanting them to. And now they're just doing all the things that, that they can do right now. And everybody's doing it together, and it's just working so well. And there's no doubt in my mind that Rick Bowness has so much to do with that. His assistant coaches, I think, have been great. I think the whole organization needed that fresh voice. Even Paul Maurice knew that when he left, and that's exactly what they've gotten. And it's interesting because he's the most experienced coach in the entire NHL. But he is, he's still able to bring that fresh voice, that fresh enthusiasm. He tells it like it is. He doesn't let anybody off the hook for anything. And it seems like they're really embracing that.
Yeah, the frankness and the honesty that we get and the fans get from Rick Bowness and what he's saying and being very clear right off the bat, there's nothing he's telling us that he hasn't told the players already. The one word we talked about, Ted, at the end of last season over and over and over again was accountability. And it really does seem like Rick Bowness has established a new way of doing things, a new way of communicating with each other. And maybe we've got to give the players themselves some credit for that, with the way they got together and put together that mantra or the code that they all actually signed on, which is, I mean, you hear a lot of things about that, but that's really taking it a step further. And I'm with you. I mean, listen, as much as we were all banging the drum for Barry Trotz, and it would have been a great story, I'd have a hard time arguing right now as we go into this game tonight in Christmas that the results could have been better with anybody else at the helm than what Bowness has done. And a part of it is the fact you mentioned his 40 years of experience. I think he sort of sees this in some ways as a last hurrah. He's done it all. He's been around. He's got his experience, and he's going to do it his way. And he's been doing it from day one and not having those worries about, job security and what am I going to do next, I think is made in a lot of ways almost a perfect situation to do a complete flip on the direction that this team was going on heading into the offseason.
Well, and they're really able to use their depth well, too, because he makes sure that guys get in the lineup. He doesn't have guys sitting out for extended period of time. If they're around, he's going to find a way to get them in. And yeah, somebody who is playing decently may have to take a seat, but that's okay, because it's more important to have everybody have a piece of it, right? And get out there and contribute. So you saw Capobianco get in, he gets a goal. You see Stenlund come up, and he's played really well for them. And I mean, I don't know how that guy comes out of the lineup right now, because he's playing really well. You know, there's a lot of really good players coming back, and some of these guys are going to be out of the lineup, but there's, it's just worked really well with the whole group and not just the top guys. But you see the energy that the top guys have, and the fact that, they're all playing, it looks like those forwards, guys like Connor and Scheifele, who we haven't always said were 200-foot players. It looks like they're certainly trying to play that 200-foot game. And Pierre-Luc Dubois is playing a really well-rounded game with that, 200-foot game, but also physical and also getting in people's faces and annoying everybody out there, and also putting the puck in the net. So there's a really, guys like that are just having spectacular seasons, and it all adds up to what you're seeing. And then, of course, you've got one of the very best goalies in the league in Connor Hellebuyck, who I think, he's just doing Hellebuyck things. I don't know that changes with the coaching, because he certainly has the same coach as well with Wade Flaherty. But the biggest difference to me is really the defense in general, the way they've played, the way that they've gelled and been successful at puck moving and playing a little more offense. And, of course, Josh Morrissey in particular. I mean, I'm just in awe at times at how well that guy is playing. And I say in awe because, I've watched him his whole career. And we just didn't see some of these things. I mean, spin moves and deeks at the line and coming in and ripping shots off the post and slap passes that he's doing all the time. And it's opening up great opportunities for players, wide open nets. And it's just incredible vision. And it's so great, I think, to see a player who obviously had that potential have the team, the organization, find a way to tap into that. Because right now you could say for sure that he's in the Norris Trophy conversation, and he's been, in my opinion, the Jets' best player this year.
Yeah, I mean, he has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I still think, I will give Hellebuyck the nod just because, of just how important he is, the level that he's played really from the start. But again, his great numbers and his results are not just on the shoulders of one person. And I'll say this, the same thing with the defense, getting the forwards to buy in and play a system. And look, the fact that people around the league are now referring to the Winnipeg Jets as a system team, a team where it doesn't matter who's in the lineup, you can pretty much count on what they're going to do, the way they're going to play, is such a credit to Rick Bowness, but also to the buy-in of the players, Ted, because, we know these guys everyone's on a different contract. People have different interest. If you're going your own way and thinking about yourself, you don't get this sort of full team buy-in. And for so many years, it's an interesting kind of connection to the Bombers, which you cover so closely. The turnaround in the Bomber organization from top to bottom has been phenomenal over the last decade.
Yeah.
But the culture that Mike O'Shea has built, that in a lot of ways seems almost led by the players, there's signs of that starting in Winnipeg under Rick Bowness right now, and that might be the best thing happening outside of the obvious results on the ice, because having a championship culture and having everyone really feeling like they are part of the team and pulling on the same rope, that's how you get the results. And we've seen great results so far this season.
Yeah, in the Bombers organization, the players know that it's the Mike O'Shea way, but he leaves the locker room to them. That's not his room. He's got his own room. They have their spot, and they do create that culture themselves. And that's why they continually are bringing back players like Willie Jefferson and Adam Big Hill, and all these guys who have been a part of establishing that culture and are continuing to pass it along. And then you get newer players starting to pass it along as well. Like I remember last year talking to players in training camp, and they all said, I said, what do you hope for this year? And they said, I just want to play more of a leadership role with this team. And I get the sense very much like you do that is the case with the Jets right now. I mean, it's hard to believe when you consider how incredibly fractured that locker room was just not even a year ago. I mean, around a year ago this time was when it really started to become a problem, and it got worse and worse as the season went on. And of course, they missed the playoffs, and the coaching staff was cleaned out. But you just see there seems to be joy. And I'll, as media guys, we weren't in the room all the time in the last few years because of the pandemic, but you are in there now, and we are talking to players a little more face to face, and you can truly sense much more of a joy, of a happiness in their words and in their faces when they're out there speaking. And I mean, of course, when you're winning, that's the truth, but I'm saying this right from the very start of the season. And I do like, I think that this team really likes having guys like, a guy like Nate Schmidt around. When he's hurt, that's kind of, it's bad in a couple of ways, because one, he's not there in that locker room during the games, but he's also a very good player. But it's just the levity that guy brings. And David Riddick's another guy that brings a lot of levity to the locker room. And you're just seeing, I think, a transformation of this organization to a much more loose one, at least in terms of how they deal with one another in the room. And I think that is translating into success on the ice.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Rob Mahoney coming in with some terrible takes in chat. By the way, a great one from Ryan Friesen. Dubois sure isn't playing like he wants to leave the Jets now that, and listen, he's doing a lot to help him. But I mean, Rob Mahoney's saying that I definitely want to trade Mark Scheifele. Listen, we talked a lot about that last year because of what happened last year, the way Mark Scheifele was playing, and certainly what we heard from Mark at the end of last season. Speaking of the naughty and the nice list, I mean, the turnaround in Scheifele's game and his renewed commitment to this team, I mean, is right. Like, we can talk about Hellebuck. We can talk about the incredible season that Josh Morrissey's having. Mark Scheifele just got 20 last night. And, I mean, anyone that honestly watched the team last year and heard what Mark Scheifele happened, and this was what said at the end of last year, and this wasn't just in this market, this was around the National Hockey League, had huge questions about his future. I guess we'll see. I mean, there's one more year in his contract, and that's a huge decision for Kevin Cheveldayoff. But we're not talking about a team sniffing around first place right now without talking about Mark Scheifele's renewed commitment to being a team player, to doing things in both ends, and obviously getting the most of, the all-world skill that he's had for a long time with another 20-goal season.
Yeah, and it's all happening for him right now, isn't it? And he's really shown a great propensity for putting the puck in the net, which he has throughout his career. And he, as we've talked about before on this show, Huss, that 2018 playoff run, he was easily one of the very best forwards in the National Hockey League in that particular moment. He's playing a lot more like that guy right now than he was. And I mean, I don't think he's even tried to keep it a secret that he just didn't feel like they were getting coached well last season at any point, really. And he didn't feel, he talks about it all the time. We're getting really, not just really good coaching, we're getting coaching right now. I mean, he really hasn't held back in talking about those things. And that's another thing that you just have to put a notch for Rick Bowness, because he's managed to get through to a guy who wasn't really taking it last year. I don't think he was being a very good, a very coachable player. He didn't seem to be, his heart didn't seem to be completely into it. There were obviously some problems in the room, whether they were completely directed at him or not, I have no idea, but he certainly, it certainly sounded like there were some issues there. But if you can turn it around, and if a coach can come in and get you just thinking the right way. He left the A on his sweater. He's part of the leadership group. He's certainly leading with the way that he's playing on the ice. And I think that's just, again, it's just another one of those things where when we looked at this team at the beginning of last season, we thought it was a real contender. The pieces were there. They didn't do it at all last year. They come back this year, a little bit of a change, some tweaks here and there, and a big one with the coach. And now you see a team that really is living up to the potential that they could. And I think just being happier and well coached and being allowed to do the things that you do well is working extremely well for them.
Well, you know what? And Morrissey, a number of players have talked about the level of communication they had with Bowness over the course of the summer. And Scheifele is as well. And I mean, I don't know. I think we've seen little hints about this that have maybe been, listen, I mean, we can't have this conversation about the new feel around the team and the coaching without talking about the guy that was in charge for all those years beforehand. And it was amazing to hear Mark Scheifele say about how he's never had communication like this with the coach before. And a lot of this started in the summer because, of course, there were huge questions. Sarah Orlesky's first act as a member of the Winnipeg Jets was sitting down with Mark Scheifele when he came in to play in the Manitoba Open, we all recall. And I think it was a perfect way to sort of break the ice on that and get ahead of it. And Mark said all the right things that you'd want to hear somebody say. But it's very easy to say something in the middle of the summer in an interview where you know everything's coming. It's a whole nother scenario to go up, back it all up, and basically do exactly as you said. And as I said, I mean, I don't want to say that's a huge surprise, but I think it was a major question mark going into this year. And the way he's bought in and connected with Rick Bowness, along with a number of other players that, you know, have taken their game to another level, a big part of where the Winnipeg Jets are right now. As far as the Bombers, though, Ted, you alluded to this right when you came on. For Bomber fans that want to see the band kept together, it's been like an advent calendar of signings. God, Walters, every day you kind of open one up and there's another guy, and man, they seem to be well on the way to bringing back the core of this team for another run at it, and what will, I'm sure, be unfinished business from day one of training camp.
Well, and not just the core, of course, but also Mike O'Shea. I mean, that is the number one thing.
Starts with Osh.
Well, it starts with him. And I mean, this thing that has worked out so well for them all started way back in December of 2013. That's when he was hired. And he didn't really know how to coach. He didn't know much about being a head coach. He had some ideas. He had to learn on the job. He had to learn on the fly. And it took him a while, right? But he absolutely has progressed every single season since he came along. And he has built this team into a terrific contender, a two-time Grey Cup champion, easily could have been a third-time Grey Cup champion, almost certainly will be a contender to do it again next year. And I think that's just, that's just so important that they've been able to keep him for as long as they have, because every time his contract comes up, the word, people start wondering, well, where, is another team going to take a run at him? Is somebody going to hand him the coach and GM job? Is somebody going to make him, an offer he can't refuse and an opportunity to go and rebuild another franchise? But so far, right now until 2025, he's sticking right around here, and he's just going to keep doing the good job that he's been doing. And, I think it's just, it's turned out incredibly well, especially him being a player who had no connection to the Blue Bombers beforehand. He was obviously with the Argos and Tiger Cats for his Hall of Fame career as a linebacker, but he came here, embraced it, made Winnipeg his family home, and has been nothing but great for this organization. And I think that,
we lost Ted.
Oh, definitely. Hey, sorry, Reem, what's up? We don't have the video of Ted now or something? I'm seeing him fine.
I lost him for a second. I don't know why, but I'll put him back in.
He's back. He's back in here. But everyone can. As I said, WST audio gremlins making his way back to city in the show for the holidays. Everyone can hear Ted okay, though. That's the most important for the podcast. Is there anyone else does Kyle Walters have any other signed contracts in the drawer that will be pulled out? I can't help but notice Jackson Jeffcoat all over materials for next year when we're putting out the season. 94 is there. Are we expecting anything on him or any of the other top guys that right now still have question marks?
I don't have that inside information for you, Huss. I mean, I thought Jamarcus Hardrick talked at the end of the season, said they were already talking. I kind of would have expected him and Stanley Bryant to be locked up by now. You are cutting it close once you get into the new year. There's no doubt about it, but there's still some time. The free agency isn't until I think February 14th this year. That's I don't think there's a lot of concerns about if they want some guys back, they're going to make it work because I think these guys want to be here. Jackson Jeffcoat's an interesting one because you're right. He is on materials for next season that they're promoting.
But just for video, we're still hearing him, right? It's bizarre because I'm seeing him fine. He's okay. So you just have to add him back in. All right, Ted. I'm not sure what's happening. The WSD audio gremlin's turning into a video gremlin today and is bouncing you out.
With me, man. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, listen. I don't think it's you. I think it's something on our mainframe computer at the at WST headquarters. Folks, we do have a good connection with Ted, though. We're just going to pop him back in here. Regardless, Bombers, we'll be talking lots in January about who else is coming back. As they say, I certainly hope 94 will be back. He's such a big part of that defense. And I don't know where we start if you don't have Hardrick and Bryant up on the corners of the offensive line. Ted, we always love to do our Princess Auto curling reports on the show. And there has been some interesting news. I cannot have you on the program without talking about two of my favorite guys, Reed Carruthers and Jason Gunlickson, who had a great start to the season and had some good results, go their separate ways this week. What happened?
Well, and two really good friends, and two of the better guys in curling. It was a real shocker to everyone in the curling community, especially with the timing of it, because all the teams are formed at this point. There's not a lot of free agents out there that you can bring in to play third, but certainly not that are as good as Jason Gunlickson, but something wasn't working there. It was very clear, and I did talk to both guys, and Reed Carruthers said it was all about performance. They just weren't clicking as a team, and they felt like they needed to make that change. And Gunner actually did not want to talk about it. He said, basically no comment. So I'm not sure where his head is at this point. It's a really, I guess it's not the worst timing because it's early in a quadrennial. It's not like you're right before the Olympic trials or something having this happen, but it's going to be hard for both of them to both teams, or both Gunner and the Carruthers team, to pick up the pieces here and go forward because like I said before, there's not a lot of ice skips out there just waiting to come in and play for Reed Carruthers, and their provincials are only 6 weeks away. Whereas where might a guy like Jason Gunlickson land? There's a lot going on there, but it is a shocking, surprising story, and I don't know why, but in curling, man, do people ever love that? I think they love that more than anything when there's a little soap opera drama within a team. That's what gets people's attention, and I get more emails and at tweets and that kind of stuff about that than anything.
Oh, listen, there's some juicy drama around the curling scene. And sometimes, listen, this was such a shock because you mentioned how close these guys were. I sat down with them in person at the beginning of the season over at Princess Auto when we got going, along with Jen and Mackenzie Zacharias, which was so much fun. And then you saw the results that they'd had early on in the season. I thought this is going to be great. And then, it really did catch people's. So who's next for, who's going to come in on Reed Carruthers' team going forward next year? And what's Brad Jacobs doing right now?
I think he's on a team now. I think he's going to play in the Northern Ontario Provincials, but I don't think that it was a particularly it's not a well-known team, not compared to the way he was before. I did reach out to Kirk Myers because he's available, and he's playing focused on mixed doubles. He's not planning to make a comeback. He would be a guy that would be a potential there. But there's you mentioned Jacobs. Obviously, he was available at some point. I'm not sure what his availability is at this point, but yeah, it's not a huge list of players, and it may not be one of your top end guys. It might be somebody that's going to have to come in and try to get this job done. Maybe playing at a higher level than they usually do. It's going to be really interesting because, like I said, you're coming into the new year. These teams are all formed. They're all set. They've all been playing together. I think Reed said he didn't want to go and poach anybody, but he also didn't know if maybe there was somebody out there that wasn't happy with their team or there was a bad fit or something, and they might be a better fit with his team. So there's a lot for them to look at in the next little while and a lot of options.
No doubt about it. Hey, just before we finish up, while we're on the curling topic, we got to give a shout out to Matty D. Dunstone. What a team he's put together, and what a run he's having right now. And I mean, that could very well be a team, never mind winning Manitoba, but could be a favorite when we get to the Brier later on this year.
Well, it could be, but you're still going to have Gushu and Hui and Botcher and, you name it. The who's
it just speaks to how well they played so far this year, very early in this collection of his new
Well, not
squad.
to take anything away from them. I mean, Dunstone's been a bronze medalist twice at the Brier. He's played well at the Brier. That's where he comes to life, you know what I mean? It's interesting to see him playing so well now because that hasn't been. Usually his peak has been more in what they call the season of champions when the big events start going in the new year. But he's really been strong here. And I mean, obviously, like you said, he's built a really good team with really good players. BJ Neufeld's been one of the best thirds in the country for a long, long time in the game, period. And
Yeah, well, it'll be listen, it's going to be a very interesting curling season. I can't wait to have Ted back on with us. Ted, happy holidays to you and the entire team at the Sun. Thanks so much for doing this, and we will look forward to catching up in 2023. There's Ted Wyman of the Winnipeg Sun. He just waved goodbye to everybody. I'm not sure why we kept losing the video. That's a bit of a strange things happening today heading into Christmas. Mike McIntyre is on deck, little bit on the DL, like many of us right now, but we'll give it a go with Mikey. And then, of course, Hacksaw coming up later on. And, of course, another qualifying race for the Marbles Tournament of Champions coming up, 2:45 today. We'll open it up and get her going. Just before we bring Mike in, you know how cold it is out right now. Many of you may have already had a call from a family member or a friend. Hey, man, my car won't start. Can you help me out? The best way you can help yourself out and everyone around it is make sure you've got a good, healthy battery. And if you want to test it, pop down to Manitoba Battery at 1026 Logan Avenue. If you know that it is new battery time, shop local, get the best price in town, and save time and money when Donnie and the gang deliver it to you citywide. Yeah, that's right, folks. Again, you can shop local, save time and money by simply giving Manitoba Battery a call or going online to manitobabattery.com before 3 p.m. for same-day delivery citywide. All year long, Manitoba Battery has literally the best prices on batteries of all shapes and sizes. Talk more about that in the summer when maybe the toys are coming out. Right now, it's all about getting from point A to point B and making sure your vehicle is good to go. If you have any battery needs, contact Manitoba Battery, and they'll bring it to you citywide. Nobody does it like Donnie and his team down at Manitoba Battery. Looking for some last-minute gift ideas? You got to rattle off a few more things on the list? Hey, take care of it all by getting down to Royal Sports. As you can see, the beautiful new line of Winnipeg Sports Talk hats are out there, including our blue and gold bomber tribute wordmark hat. And we've got the snapbacks and the dad hats. All versions are at Royal Sports right now, along with our new era toques. And if you're not in and around Royal, you can hit us up on the website at winnipegsportstalk.com/store. That being said, as I mentioned, Royal's busy right now because it's the best, and it is packed with the best selection of licensed merchandise from all your favorite teams. Thousands of pieces of Jets merchandise, including the new retro reverse jerseys, tons of Bomber gear, Blue Jays, Raptors, all NFL teams, World Cup soccer, and more. The biggest hockey department in the city for people that are playing or looking for new equipment, sticks and whatnot. And then on the King Skate, Snow, and Surf side, incredible shoes. But the Yeti, if you're looking for a really cool gift idea, check out their Yeti section of coolers, thermoses, and more. I've never seen a bigger Yeti section, and it is going fast right now. So it's all there at Royal Sports for you, 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Pembina for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And hey, as we get into next week, it is Boxing Week. And man, does Andrew and the gang at F Apparel have a massive Boxing Day sale planned. All custom clothing. So suits, dress shirts, and more, 20% off. Anything off the rack like sweaters and polos, 30% off. And all accessories like ties, tie bars, socks, pocket squares, etc., 50% off. If you've been knowing you need to upgrade the wardrobe heading into 2023, don't wait until New Year's. Take advantage of the F Apparel Boxing Week sale running in-store and online from December 26th to December 31st. Again, 190 Smith Street downtown. You can check out everything they've got online at EPHapparel.com. All right, let's get our guy Mike McIntyre in here. And Mike, glad you're powering through, hanging in. You, like many of us, myself included, and Connor Hellebuck on a bit of the shelf with a non-COVID illness.
Yeah, I was around Connor Hellebuck, of course, in Vancouver and Seattle the other day, but I'm not going to blame Connor for getting me sick. In fact, it's probably more to do with the crowded sky trains and airport terminals and flights. It was a gong show, Huss, to get back from the West Coast earlier this week. I'm actually extremely lucky that I'm not joining you today from Vancouver, where I very well still could have been stuck. My Monday night flight ended up getting canceled. I got rebooked for yesterday, so I was going to have to spend 3 extra days in Van City. Found an opening on a Tuesday morning flight, made it to the airport just in the nick of time. And somehow, and I still don't understand this, our flight was actually allowed to take off on Tuesday morning when like 98% of the other flights were grounded in Vancouver. So I was very lucky to get home. I won't look a gift horse in the mouth and overly question it, but I know some people are really struggling to kind of get from point A to point B with all the travel chaos right now. Not only on the West Coast, now it's happening on the East Coast as well. And cross your fingers for our buddy Jeff Hamilton. Jeff's on this road trip. He's in Washington tonight. He's flying home tomorrow. I believe he's supposed to go through Toronto. And let's just hope that Jeff is able to make it home without any issues.
Yeah, we may have to do a special little stream or something, Christmas with Hammer from wherever he is, because I mean, you're right. I mean, listen, I knew I wasn't traveling in and around now. I got my travel out earlier this month, and it was a lot of it to get back from the Middle East and the World Cup. But man, watching what's happening in this crazy weather system, we're going to get into it a little bit more with Hacksaw and how it's going to affect the NFL games this weekend. I mean, the timing of this could not be worse. And it is we're not talking about just a small pocket of the continent that's getting hit with it. And listen, we're used to getting it to minus 20 and minus 25. The areas south of us are not. And I can't wait to see what these stadiums look like in some of these venues tomorrow. How many hardcore fans are actually going to be showing up, how many empty seats, and what it does to the play. But you're right.
Just to interrupt you, Huss, I got a crash course in that. So what I did last weekend, I actually flew into Vancouver, covered the Jets game Saturday. Then I drove to Seattle rather than fly to Seattle. And Sunday morning, they got the first of 2 systems. And so I had to actually drive through a snowstorm down to Seattle. And I can tell you this, people in British Columbia do not know how to drive in snow. Now, part of it is maybe there's some added comfort in that all vehicles have to have snow tires there. So my rental had snow tires, but my goodness, I saw a lot of terrified drivers on the road who should not have been. I also saw Huss, not 1, not 2, but 3 flipped upside down vehicles in ditches along the highway down to Seattle. And then I had to do it all over again Monday to drive back to Vancouver because I was flying in and out of Vancouver on this trip. And that's when the second weather system hit, the one that grounded all the planes for days. So yeah, my nerves definitely got to work out, which probably also didn't help the bug that I seem to have picked up on the way home. But all is well. We soldier on.
Well, hopefully Hammer does get back. By the way, a quick thanks. Adam Douglas with the super chat. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, Huss and Remis. Thanks for being awesome. Thank you for being awesome, Adam. Really do appreciate that. And WST Hall of Famer, T. Konapali. I'm not sure if we have a Hall of Fame, but T. Konapali would be first ballot with another super chat. Merry Christmas, WST. Thank you very much, guys. We greatly appreciate it. Just one quick travel story just before we get to these other topics. I was out last night with the fellas watching the game. And a guy came up to me and we were just having a little bit of a short talk. And I noticed that he was wearing a jean jacket. And I'm like, a jean jacket? It's like -30 outside right now. This guy was supposed to fly. He was from Regina. Supposed to fly to Cabo yesterday at 7 a.m. Got a call or a notice the night before, flight's canceled. You're screwed. So he contacts the people. Do we have any recourse? Is there any other way we can get there? Well, you can get on the 9 o'clock or 9:30 flight from Winnipeg if you can get there. It's like, all right, fine. So they drive from Winnipeg to Regina. That 9:30 flight gets pushed back to 3 o'clock, gets pushed back to 9 o'clock, and then gets canceled. So this poor guy was 0 for 2, stuck in Winnipeg with only the clothes he was planning on going to Mexico in. It was a disaster. So wherever you are right now, folks, be thankful. It could be a hell of a lot worse. Mike, what'd you think of the game last night? We kind of kicked this around. I mean, a real bad break that seemingly was the turning point in it. And we saw the Boston Bruins flex on the Jets, why they are the #1 team in the National Hockey League. But, lots of comments about the penalties that were called one way that didn't go the other way. But I don't know. I thought that this was a pretty strong performance against a great team. And, like Rick Bowness said, I mean, there were a lot of things that the Jets could be proud of. That being said, proud doesn't get you any points in the standings, and they'll look to try and squeeze a couple more out of the road in Washington tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rick Bowness has said from day one there's going to be no moral victories. I'd almost make an exception for last night. I would say that in a way that was a moral victory because you had an undermanned Jets team, and again, we almost just have stopped talking about it, but they're missing $24 million worth of players right now. Take $24 million in salary out of any team. They're going to take a hit. So the Jets have taken that hit, but they've weathered it tremendously. There's also the schedule. And again, I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just stating facts. Their schedule has been absurd lately. They're playing a ridiculous amount of hockey. I think it's going to end up being 8 and 13 after tonight. That's a lot of hockey. And that's included, they were on the West Coast. Now they're on the East Coast. They were briefly home. All that combined, they're going up against a team that's 17-0-2 at home. And the Jets, in that first period last night, Huss, I thought they absolutely schooled the Bruins. That was one of the best periods of the year that the Jets have played all year. Was it sustainable? Probably not. And you knew that a push was coming. Maybe what we didn't expect was that the first Boston goal, the dam, if you will, would break not on a beautiful play or a hard-earned kind of greasy goal, but on just a completely lucky, fluky play. And, I don't know if they keep stats on this, Huss, but doesn't it feel like Connor Hellebuck's been burned by more of those than any other goalie in the NHL? Like the Plinko goal, he leads the league in Plinko goals against. The bad bounce.
Well, and we always joke about how, the most nervous moment of a game for any Jet fan is when Helly's out of his net handling the puck. But in this case, this is exactly what you're coached to do, exactly where you're supposed to do. He was in the right spot. At the last minute, the thing kicks out, and it just doesn't kick out. It kicks out in front of a wide open net to, of all people, David Pasternak. As Rick Bowness said, he's been around long enough. That is hockey, but it was still a bit of a tough pill to swallow. That being said, Mike, we saw more brilliance from Josh Morrissey. I don't even know where to start with, the season that he's had so far. He's already broken a number of records. The point streak continues. He's beaten his season high for points already, and we're not even at Christmas right now. And, we've had a lot of fun talking about Norrisy, but I'll tell you what, he's earned his position in that conversation right now, and what a huge level of importance he's been for the team overall, because I really believe the way Josh is playing right now is making the players around him better as well.
Well, and you see that list of assists and assist streak that he's on right now, Huss. Not forget about the franchise record. He's already set that. Josh Morrissey is entering elite and, dare I say, historic company when it comes to his assist streak right now. I think there's only 5 players in NHL history, defensemen, that have had a longer assist streak than him. And obviously he'll try and keep that going tonight heading into the break. But yeah, Josh Morrissey's doing everything, right? He's scoring, he's setting guys up, he's adding all these new elements. The slap pass has kind of become his new thing lately. And he almost had another one. I think it was to Dylan DeMello last night where he tried the slap pass. Playing great, two-way hockey, great in his own end, obviously leading. He wears an A on his sweater, and there is no captain this year. So I would suggest him being around the team. Josh Morrissey is he's taken on an even bigger role than he already had when it comes to leadership and in the room, helping the transition with the new coaching staff, new players. Josh Morrissey's doing everything. And the Jets, when you list off Winnipeg's MVPs, obviously Josh Morrissey and Connor Hellebuck right now are neck and neck. And both guys could be looking at hardware by the time the year ends. In fact, Huss, if the season were to end today, there could be all kinds of award, nominations for Jets. Kyle Connor, he's at almost a 90-point pace, and he's taken one penalty again. He might just repeat his Lady Bing. Connor Hellebuck, Vezina, Josh Morrissey, Norris, Rick Bowness. If the season ended today, he'd have to be in consideration for the Jack Adams. So, there's a number of players right now that are having breakthrough years. And we don't even talk about Mark Scheifele, who hit 20 goals already last night. 8th straight season that he's done that, which is remarkable. And he's on pace to score close to 50. What we've seen, Huss, and I go back to that $24 million in salary, the Jets are missing a lot of pieces, but there really has been, a committee step up here. And some nights it's the big stars, some nights it's your 4th liners, your 3rd liners. The Jets are getting contributions across the board. It's a big reason they're 10 games above, real 500, 21-11-1, and in the position that they are. And I'm curious to see, though, what they have left in the tank tonight. Now, granted, Washington also played last night and traveled. The Caps have been playing tremendous hockey. They're one of the hottest teams in the league. Ovi's now had, 4 straight games where he hasn't got the record. So that it's really eating away at him. And they're back at home. This will be really interesting to me to see what the Jets have, as they end this hellacious stretch of hockey. Do they have one more great effort in them? Or do we see something more in line with a few of the stinkers that we've seen? And I don't know the answer to that. I'll say this, neither would terribly surprise me one way or the other. And And for that reason, I wouldn't put a whole ton of stock into how tonight plays out. I would say this, Huss, put me down for Ovi at least getting one tonight. I say he does it.
I mean, we were going over, I mean, the amount of goals he scored against the Jets over the years. He had 600 against the Jets. It would only be logical. I mean, the guy's due right now.
Yes.
And I guess the big question is who's going to have the job of preventing that from happening. Will Connor Hellebuck go back to back, or will it be Big Save Dave? And I would have to think, considering it, we get busy again right out of the break with games on the 27th, 29th, and 31st. And the way Dave Riddish played this week as well, I don't think that they should hesitate to go with Big Save Dave. Give Hellebuck a nice little rest because you know you're going to be riding 37 right out of the Christmas break.
I fully expect we will see Big Save Dave, and maybe in a way, Connor Hellebuck, he might avoid getting on the historical films. He's already on Ovi's reel once because I was there in Washington a few years back when Ovi scored. It seems like it was just yesterday that Ovi scored 600 against Connor Hellebuck. So yeah, Connor Hellebuck probably misses the chance, and I'm sure he won't be too sorry about it to not be on the receiving end of another potential milestone. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a good test for the Jets, another good team. The Jets haven't been, for as well as they played this year, they actually haven't played all that well against the Eastern Conference. So, you know, they're going to want to, I suspect they'll want to go into the break with a good game. But again, Huss, there's got to be a lot of things on players' minds this time of year. And I would think that's even, especially when you're on the road. For example, there's a bunch of Jets that are flying out after the game tonight. Like, they won't be chartering back to Winnipeg. They're trying to get to their homes to spend a couple days with family. And again, this monster weather system, like, I don't know what it means potentially for them. And if some guys who probably were going through Toronto, if they're going to be out of luck, I got to imagine it's a stressful time for everybody. And that goes for well-compensated hockey players as well.
Yeah, Jeff Hamilton and half the team are going to be spending Christmas in the Air Canada Lounge at Pearson Airport, I have a feeling. Hey, T-Will, happy Festivus to Remo and Huss. When is the airing of grievances? I've got a lot of problems with you people. T-Will, thanks very much for the super chat, man, and happy holidays to you. We do appreciate it.
On that point, there was a lot of airing of grievances over the officiating last night, Huss.
Well,
I mean, so I hate to, you know, I feel like I beat this to death, but and I don't want to sound like a homer. I'll criticize the refs when they make dumb calls that benefit the Jets as well. I do that on Twitter a lot. But the one that really sticks out to me, Pierre-Luc Dubois he's pretty much impaled by a hockey stick. It's like jammed in his visor. It's sticking in his head. And I believe the ref, if you can read lips, said something like calm down or something to him when he kind of protested. Like, calm down. How about you do your job? How is that not a high sticking penalty?
that was a joke, Mike. I mean, and I mean, we didn't really get into it after the game. We didn't hear what the explanation or lack thereof, but I mean, there was a couple relatively chintzy calls that went against the Winnipeg Jets. And when something as obvious as that gets overlooked, it does beg the question, what the heck is going on? But, you know, bitching about the referees is, I mean, you sort of just got to get over it. Rick Bowness did. Hey, things are going to happen. As he said, that's hockey. But they didn't do the Jets any favors last night. That's for sure. Hey, let me ask you about, and I'll say this right off the bat, because a number of, well, I jokingly call them Villy bots, but people on Twitter were on me a couple days ago for not being overly impressed and gushing about Villy's game against the Ottawa Senators. Listen, I didn't think he was phenomenal or anything like that. I didn't think he was terrible, but I mean, this is a huge opportunity, and you want to see Villy come in and do the things specifically that he does very well to, you know, help his chances of being more a part of this club going into the second half of the season. I really liked him last night, actually. I mean, I just thought that and again, it's way harder, I think, to focus on a player for a 60-minute game on television as opposed to being in the building. So that is the caveat. But he certainly looked like he was a little bit more comfortable, was composed. I think did some of those things like getting the puck out and out of the zone to the next guy as well as he's has done in the past. And I think, pairing with Brendan Dillon, was a real positive at the start, but not necessarily a referendum on each game, but just your thoughts on the opportunity that has presented Heinola right now with Nate Schmidt and Logan Stanley both out long-term. And, if you want to talk about what you've seen so far from him, go ahead. But I'm thinking more about what's to come for Ville over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, considering, how well the defense has played, the results the team has had, which is not going in his favor. But at the same time, I mean, certainly a guy that has a ton of talent that is now getting this opportunity to presumably play more often than not on a regular basis right now.
I'm with you in that I didn't think he had a very strong game against Ottawa. Rick Bowness just said he was okay. That's probably about as much as you can say about him. But I agree. I thought he was a lot better last night. I'll tell you the play that I really liked last night was a shot block that he made. I think it was during the second period. He then took another one to the back of the neck.
Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah, so he got drilled twice with the puck. That's the sort of thing, Huss, plays like that gets you a lot of currency with the coach. That goes over well in the room and on the bench. And you could actually see guys on the bench kind of patting him and checking to make sure he's okay. I mean, we know Ville has all the offensive talent in the world. It's little things like that and little plays in the game like that. That's what's going to keep him in the lineup and earn, a bit longer leash from the coach. And I do think, I really do think that it is a long leash right now, and it should be a long leash. I don't think there shouldn't be a fear of a rotation with Kyle Capobianco at this point. Rick Bowness said in training camp, kind of the key to get Ville into the lineup would be to potentially have one of those offensive guys, Morrissey, Yonk, Schmidt, not be in the lineup. And so, earlier in the year when Stanley got hurt the first time, that didn't automatically open the door for Ville because the argument was, well, he's not that kind of player. And he's not. But now Nate Schmidt's gone. That's your, one of your quarterbacks of your second power play unit, obviously an offensive play driver. And he's gone for up to 6 weeks. So that should give Ville a lot more runway here than he's had. And so I chalk the game against Ottawa up to a guy who, again, just hadn't played in weeks and had been quite sick. In fact, he had missed 4 straight Moose games, hadn't played. The Jets have barely practiced. So, he's not even really having a chance to get into a groove, on off days. It's just travel, rest, play. And in his case, travel, rest, not play. So, I think he was a lot better last night. I would expect to see an even better version of him tonight, assuming he gets to stay in the lineup. But I think it would be a mistake at this point to take him out because the young guy, obviously confidence is always going to be an issue with a young player. But I think he has to know that as long as he's making the effort and doing the right things, little mistakes, things like that, those are okay. It's a bigger body of work that's going to be looked at here. And I think this is finally his chance to get that bigger body of work and to really show what he can do. Does it mean that in 6 weeks from now or 5 weeks, whenever Nate Schmidt's back, he stays in the lineup? Probably not. But wouldn't that be a great problem to have if Ville plays so well that now you're going, oh my goodness, how do we possibly take this guy out? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's what you hope happens ultimately.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, it sort of begs the other conversation about, what will the Jets do to try to boost their forward core? Are they willing to move a defenseman? I'm not sure that they are. I mean, especially if they believe that they're going to be a playoff team. They know that 1 or 2 of these guys will be out again later on this season. Sure. I mean, it's difficult at times for a young player, I'm sure, to be with the Moose when you're capable of contributing in the National Hockey League. But right now, as I said, really liked the game last night, and hopefully that's a sign of more of what's to come. And I'm sort of with you. I think getting that opportunity to play 6, 8, 10 games in a row is only going to help him and give him the opportunity that I think he really needs to show that the coaches should be confident that he can be in. And I think the jury's still out on that, but certainly was a step forward last night.
Well, and let me say this, you and I have talked a lot, Huss, about the Jets possibly moving a defenseman at some point for some forward help. I think one of the things we've discovered, though, with this Jets team so far this year, as the injuries have piled up, $24 million in salaries out of the lineup, most of that up front, maybe this team was deeper than we thought when it came to forwards. Like, you've got guys like Kevin Stenlund who step in and don't look out of place at all. The system that Rick Bowness has these guys playing in, it really is a bit of a plug and play kind of system where, and that's what really good teams have, right? That's what teams like Tampa Bay, why they always are good. It doesn't even seem to matter who's in their lineup. They're playing John Cooper's system. And so it doesn't matter who's on your fourth line or your third line, they're going to be effective. And we're seeing that to a degree, maybe not exactly with the same consistency or production from elite teams like Tampa, but we're seeing it a lot more than we've ever seen it before here in Winnipeg. So you've got guys like Stenlund and Axel Jonsson-Fjällby and, Michael Eyssimont, who now is a healthy scratch after really opening some eyes. And even Sam Gagner, who's, I think, produced more than maybe anybody could have thought. And of course, then you've got, Adam Lowry having a great season. He's already up to 20 points. The Jets' bottom six and their depth, I think, has proven to be a little deeper than we thought. And so if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff, does that give you pause for thought when you're evaluating what you want to do? Is it possible, Haas? This would be incredible. Is it possible the Jets actually look to add to the blue line, as we get closer to the trade deadline? Because as you say, that's where injuries, traditionally tend to happen. And the old saying, you need like up to 9 or 10 NHL defensemen if you're going to go deep into the playoffs. Do the Jets have 9 or 10 NHL defensemen right now? I don't know the answer to that. I would say probably not. So is that an area now where we thought at one point they use a defenseman to get forward help? Maybe they don't need the forward. I mean, they're one of the highest scoring teams in the NHL. They're not losing games because they're not scoring enough goals.
Well, and they're getting Ehlers back. They're going to be getting Wheeler back. So there will be some help coming forth on the horizon. Mason Appleton as well. You would hope it. Hey, just last one on the way, because, we were talking about Heinola and some of the other newer players that are in the lineup. What have you thought? And you were there. Carson Kuhlman, the former Seattle Kraken. It's sort of bizarre situation where he gets picked up off waivers and is playing right now with Mark Scheifele and Cole Perfetti. Listen, this is a new role for him and one that I don't think he is long for, but what have you seen from the newest member of the club?
It's kind of like getting dumped at the altar and then like getting married a few days later, like marrying up, right? Like I can't imagine. And I actually saw, I was down in the room post game on Sunday, and a bunch of Kraken after the game were over by the Jets room coming over to see Carson. And you could tell he was a guy they really enjoyed being around, and there's lots of laughs. Obviously the Jets had lost the game, but they were catching up, and I'm sure the talk was, nice landing spot. Like, you're actually on a better hockey team. Not that they would have said that, but he's on a better team and he's playing a top 6 role. Like, that is landing on your feet. Is Carson Kuhlman going to stay in the top 6 forever? Obviously not. I don't know that there's a ton of offense there. And so we've seen the rotating cast of characters being used in that top 6 right now. One thing about Carson Kuhlman that's very evident in talking to him and watching him play, he's a very smart player. He's a guy that was captain of his college team. There's a high hockey IQ there. Seems to know his role, and he seems to be obviously enjoying this second opportunity that kind of came out of nowhere. And so, again, when all the guys are healthy, and now you've got a guy like Kuhlman who could settle into your third or fourth line, or at least be in that mix. Saku Manalainen as well, a guy that was playing really good in a bottom 6 role before he got hurt. The Jets are going to have so many options, and that will keep everyone on their toes, and you hope playing at the top of their game. But it's an interesting situation. I don't think anyone had Carson Kuhlman, Axel Janssen-Fialbi, Michael Asamont, Kevin Stanland, Cam Gagne, all of those guys have taken turns in the top 6 in the last couple of weeks. If you had said that in September, I think most fans would have said, who?
Yeah, they probably would have said, okay, well, where are the Jets in the lottery right now? That's what they would have said.
Yeah, bring on Connor Bedard.
Hey, Mike, you know what? You sounded great. I know you're not feeling 100%, but you certainly brought it, as always. A very Merry Christmas to you and the McIntyre clan, Piper, and everybody else there. And we'll look forward to hopefully catching up next week as we do it one more time at some point before we go into 2023. And, of course, Minnesota and Vancouver at home, a New Year's Eve game for the Jets in Edmonton next week. So there certainly will be a lot to talk about. But welcome back. I'm glad you got back to Winnipeg safely. Thanks for doing this, and all the best to you and yours.
And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you, to Remis, and all the Winnipeg Sports Talk viewers and listeners. Thanks so much, folks. Have a great holiday.
Have a great one. There is our guy, Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press. All right, it's just about Hacksaw time. Of course, with Ted, we did hit that big curling news this week of Reed Carruthers and Jason Gunlickson mutually agreeing to go separate ways. It's a huge story in Manitoba curling and Canadian curling, really. And of course, whenever we do a little curling talk, we do it for Princess Auto, who of course is the sponsor of the Carruthers team, Team Jennifer Jones, and such a big supporter of both the Bombers and curling from coast to coast. And of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. And Princess Auto is the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. They've got 2 Winnipeg locations. Still time to get in there before Christmas. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. A big WST happy holidays to our friends at Culligan Water, family owned for over 65 years in the business and hydrating Winnipeg and southern Manitoba for that long. They got it all, whatever you need for you and your family. Water softeners, filters, bottled water coolers, whole home systems, drinking water systems, citywide water delivery services, and commercial and industrial water products and solutions. You can pop down and see the experts at Culligan at 1200 Sargent Avenue. Give them a call at 694-5180. And of course, you can find out everything they can do for you at your home online at drinkculligan.com. And hey, a big cheers to our favorite legendary Canadian whiskey and our great sponsors at Canadian Club. Of course, Canadian Club's been the spot, the drink of choice for Bomber fans at IG Field throughout the year. Of course, the Canadian Club and ginger ale as well in cans. But right now, with entertaining, with the holidays here, when you go to your Manitoba liquor marts, make sure to pop by the Canadian Club display and get Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey. And don't forget, Bomber fans, Jim Beam as well right now. A special offer. With the purchase of Jim Beam, get one of the 3 collectible Bomber glasses featuring Zach Caleros, Adam Bighill, and Nick Dembski, available now at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And hey, a big cheers to our friends at Boston Pizza as well. Of course, Boston Pizza with us throughout the year and really since day one on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And great spot to be last night to watch a little Jets hockey and then the NFL game that we're going to get to with Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And a great spot to be maybe tomorrow early on because we got a huge slate of games at noon. And of course, tonight when the Jets drop the puck one more time before Christmas against the Washington Capitals. When you're at BP, check out their new festive holiday menu, including the amazing mac and cheeseburger and my personal favorite, the jalapeno cheese dip, a jalapeno popper dip, excuse me. It's all there. And hey, if it's too cold for you to get out, order online wherever you are in Winnipeg and southern Manitoba, online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we got to talk about our boy Chris Streveler. An interesting game last night and a huge, huge slate of games in the National Football League with the jolliest one of them all, none other than Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Saw, best of the season to you and yours, my friend. What's up?
Happy holiday to you and your whole team up there in Winnipeg. Is a little frosty up there. You know, The lower 48 is just like an Arctic ice box here in a large part of the country. What's it like in Winnipeg and Northern Canada?
Well, they're getting what we have had for the last little while. We don't want to take credit or blame for it, if you will, but this is a blast lead. And if you look at the map, sort of comes right from the peg, right down through the Midwest, and now is causing some major, major issues for people traveling. And it's going to really impact these games on the weekend. Just before we get to that, though, I want to talk about last night's Jets-Jags game. We'll talk about Streveler in a minute because, of course, he is a big favorite of everyone here in Winnipeg and got in. But I have to ask you right off the bat, for a number 2 overall pick, I mean, could this season have been any more of a disaster for Zach Wilson? And is he done as a New York Jet?
Well, I think it's easy to blame the young quarterback, but understand he is young. Understand they've had just a mess of injuries at offensive tackle all year. They never got out of training camp healthy. They're down, I think, 3 offensive tackles are on IR. And then you complicate it. He's got very erratic play from a collectively young group of wide receivers. I like Robert Saleh as head coach. I think he's got them playing hard. He's rebuilt the defense. I think it's just too early to give up on Zach Wilson, but he has to make a commitment mentally to be a more complete student of the game, and he has to bear responsibility. He kind of lost the locker room about a month ago with some of the shenanigans and things that he said coming off losses when he played poorly, and he really played poorly last night, and that's why he got benched. And the New York media is going crazy today, Andrew, that, fire the guy, put the guy out on the street corner for sanitation pickup after Christmas. You just don't give up on number 1 picks this quickly. And of course, he got hurt on top of all that. So, young quarterbacks, bright light quarterbacks go to bad teams. And that's really painful. Now, I'm not going to say this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, but please remember, Troy Aikman was 1-15. With the Dallas Cowboys. Peyton Manning was 3-13. John Elway, I don't think, had a winning season until his 3rd year in Denver. So it takes time, and I just think there's a lot of complication factors as to why he's playing poorly. Part of it's at his front door, but I think part of it's the roster too.
Well,
and in terms of Chris,
the one thing is, just quickly, I mean, Mike White's gone in there and had very different results than Zach Wilson has. And Lee, I don't know if there could be anything more damning. I saw a comparison of stats in the first 2 years. Zach Wilson's numbers, completion percentage, touchdowns, picks, all that, almost identical to Jamarcus Russell, who is synonymous with being one of the biggest busts of all time. The one thing is, I mean, it's one thing to lose football games but the way he was missing passes last night, like, do you know how bad you have to be playing to get benched in a must-win game for, with all due respect to Chris Streveler, a guy from your practice roster that basically just has CFL and a very little bit of NFL experience? But that's what happened last night, and they had absolutely no other choice.
That's what 42% completion rate will do to you. Yeah, it surely would. He was out of sync. He looked absolutely horrible. But I've seen that from a lot of other young quarterbacks. So I'm not going to put him out on the curb yet for, post-Christmas pickup by the sanitation department. In terms of Chris, cool opportunity. Obviously, real good success in Winnipeg. Kind of bounced around here as somebody's number 2, number 3, developmental squad guy. When the opportunity arises, you get the chance, you go in and play. He's playing with house money. Does he get another contract? Maybe he does. It just depends. Your comment, obviously, about Mike White, that quarterback came from a wide open throwing offense. And I think maybe he was a little bit ahead of the power curve because they were in the air raid offense at Western Kentucky. And he's had flashes where he's played pretty well. And of course, he's also gotten beaten up along the way, too. But interesting quandary for what the Jets have to decide in the offseason as to who's going to be the guy, but I just don't give up on high number 1 picks that easy, that quickly.
Lee Hacksaw Hamilton's with us. All right, Lee. So we've got a very busy Saturday with the majority of the games going off at noon our time tomorrow, a couple of afternoon games, an evening game, and then 3 games on Christmas Day and a Monday nighter. Before we talk about some of the quarterback issues around, I mean, you sort of alluded to the crazy weather that's enveloping the United States right now. What are you hearing about how impactful these storms, the temperatures, the winds are going to be in a number of locales when we kick off tomorrow at noon?
Well, my favorite vacation spot, aside from my cottage in the Adirondacks, is Key West. And Key West is going to have a low of 41 tonight. 41 in the Florida Keys. Go think about that. But this storm is really bad today. I got friends in Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Their wind chill is minus 32 right now.
Ouch.
But this thing's going to blow through. And by tomorrow, it'll probably be beyond the East Coast, beyond New York, Washington, and Boston. So I think this is a real bad Friday, Saturday situation. But by Saturday, I think most of it's going to be out of the lower 48 and headed to the Atlantic and headed up the coast to Nova Scotia and the Maritimes. Really interesting games. Cincinnati, New England. Joe Burrow's having a phenomenal back half of the schedule. And Cincinnati had such a rotten start and they've won 10 of their last 12. New England's got quarterback problems. Mac Jones was just atrocious last week in the terrible loss to the Raiders. I think he was 11 for 31 for 121 yards. There's just an awful lot of debate going on in New England with, what is the status of the roster? What has Belichick done post Tom Brady? New England's only 24-24 since Brady changed his mailing address to Tampa Bay. And the Patriots, by blowing that game last week, Hustler, have now painted themselves back into a box.
Have you ever seen anything like
pilot.
that quickly, Lee? I was so looking forward to having you on just to talk about the way that game ended. I'm not even sure that last touchdown.
Here's the thing that shocks me. Everything about New England football and Belichick's leadership is everything is slotted. Every guy knows his responsibility. This is the system. You're a thinking man when you play for Belichick because you got to be intelligent to cope with everything that they throw at you. And I'll tell you, New England, they coach their players hard. And it's for Ramondre Stevenson to make that move on the final snap of the game. And granted, he busted off a big run and maybe he thought everybody was out of position and I could flip it to somebody and one of our guys could weave his way through, but the pass kept going further back till Chandler Jones picked it off. And Stevenson had 172 yards rushing. He had a great game. There was a reason the game was tied. It's just, this is so out of character for anybody that is in those meeting rooms in Foxborough with Belichick. Belichick must have been sick to his stomach. And not only was it a bad decision, it turns into a bad loss because it really damages New England. Of course, a whole pile of teams are sitting there at 7-7 or 6-8 with 3 weeks to go, and somebody can hopscotch somebody else. And now New England has got to pick up the pieces. And they got to play Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Cincinnati throwing the thing down the field. It was stunning to me to watch that.
It was. Hey, by the way, Coachy51, thank you very much for the super chat. Best of the season to you. We really do appreciate it. Lee, as far as that play goes, I mean, and I know that Jacoby Myers owned it afterwards and said, to quote him, I was trying to be a hero. I have to think, though, like in that moment when Ramondre did the lateral to him, like honestly, what goes through your head? Like, why is this happening right now? You must, wait a second, are we losing the football game right now? Like, to me, it started with the Ramondre lateral that put him into a situation where you have to make a split-second decision. And just because of what's happened, I think would make you question your awareness of what's happening in the game. And we know how it ended up.
Yeah, I concur with you wholeheartedly because take a knee, or there will be another possession coming in overtime or two possessions in overtime. I mean, it was just a frantic situation. It was ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, Minnesota's come from behind win over Indianapolis. I've done a lot of games. I've done games in which my team got blown out. I did games in which my teams came from behind. And in the 17 years that I've done NFL play-by-play, I've never seen anything like that. 33-0. I just happened to tune into it. And, you know, we're close allies to Kevin McConnell, the Vikings coach. He's from here, from San Diego State, lives here in the offseason and all that. And I started to watch, and they started to pick away. And I said, okay, so they got a touchdown, and then they got another touchdown. And then I started thinking, hey, these guys will do an onside kick. And then they got another touchdown. And next thing you know, they go from 33-0, and they outscore Indy 39-3 in that game. And Indianapolis's defense was gassed because they were on the field. They could not stop anybody and couldn't get off the field. And their offense kept going 3 and out, 3 and out. Never seen anything like it. And do you think social media had an opinion in Indianapolis after that game? Holy cow, the social media went crazy. They said, Jim Irsay, you should fire your head coach, fire your defensive coordinator, and then fire yourself because you've made the Colts franchise a clown circus. Oh, what an utter disaster. And I felt bad for, there's some good guys on that Colts team, and that they've been beset by injuries, and they got a quarterback crisis on their hands. But those poor guys on defense, they were gassed. They could not get off the field, and then Matt Ryan would go 3 and out or turn it over. I've never seen in modern day football. Nobody's ever seen it.
Well,
all-time record.
You know, it's funny you say that.
A hole to win it.
You say who's seen anything like that? The one guy that's seen something like that happens to be Matt Ryan himself, because he has now been the central figure on the losing team of the biggest playoff collapse of all time, and now the biggest comeback in NFL regular season or playoff history in that game last week. And I've always been a fan of Matt Ryan.
That is also stapled onto Kyle Shanahan's resume too. Keep that in mind.
Well, exactly. Shanahan was just happy he was far away from U.S. Bank Stadium on Monday and had nothing to do with that one. And of course, in some ways, that's the end of Matt Ryan. They're going to go with Nick Foles from the Monday Nighter against the Chargers coming up this week.
Yeah, it's just a disaster in Indianapolis, and Ryan does not look like the same quarterback he used to be in Atlanta, but they've just had injury after injury. I think they've gone through 5 different offensive linemen that are out. Obviously, the running back, Jonathan Taylor, is now out for the year. At one point, he lost his top 3 wide receivers for 2 to 4 weeks with injuries, and he's just not the same quarterback. He's got, I think the number I saw this morning was 14 touchdowns, 17 turnovers, and he's been sacked 38 times. So it's a byproduct of a lot of stuff going on around Matt Ryan. So, yeah, they're on their 3rd different starting quarterback, just like the Jets have now gone through 3 different quarterbacks. We got a circumstance out here with the LA Rams where people are starting to insinuate that Matt Stafford's neck injury is much more significant. He's denied that he needs surgery, but he's gone for the rest of the year, and they've gone through 3 different quarterbacks. And Kyler Murray's devastating Arizona injury, they're on their 3rd quarterback. In the 49ers, unbelievable record in the NFC West. And think about this, they're on their 3rd quarterback, and yet look at where the 49ers are on the season. Tennessee's lost Ryan Tannehill. He needs foot surgery. He's gone. Baltimore cannot get Lamar Jackson healthy. He's now missed 9 practices in a row. This will be 3 games. His backup, Tyler Huntley, was hurt. So they were going with the 3rd string quarterback. And it just goes on and on and on around the league. Carolina's got 3 quarterbacks, but if you got 3, that means you don't have a starter. And that's an absolute mess too. So it's just been a really, really tough year for quarterbacks in the league. I think the last number that I had was of the starting 32 quarterbacks in the league, 17 of them have had major injuries this season. And then there's a whole pile of backups that have gotten hurt coming off the bench too.
Well, no better example of that than the Christmas Day slate. I mean, when that schedule was made, you're thinking about 2 Super Bowl contenders and Matt Stafford and the defending champion Rams going up against Russell Wilson and his new team, the Denver Broncos. We're getting Baker Mayfield and Brett Rippon in that one. Yeah. And then the big Tom Brady, Kyler Murray matchup is a 6-8 Buccaneer team that has looked abjectly horrible. And Trace McSorley looks to be the guy for the Cardinals. So, listen, you can't win them all with the schedule. Usually the NFL comes up pretty lucky. Didn't get it. Although I'm interested in your thoughts on the early game on Christmas Day, Lee, with the Packers, who've actually shown some life over the course of the past few games, going up against the Dolphins, who are finally home after 3 tough losses on the road, including a thriller last week against the Bills.
Yeah, Andrew, Green Bay is just not Green Bay right now. They're 6-8, and Rodgers is thrown for a bunch of yards. And some games, his young receivers, led by the kid out of North Dakota State, Christian Watson, make a ton of plays. Other games, it looks like an old football team. Some weekends, Aaron Jones runs the hell out of the ball. Other weekends, he gets 12 yards in a game. Green Bay's got a chunk of injury problems on their defense. But, you know, they're trying to stay in this wild card chase. It's a desperation game for them at 6-8. And Miami's battered. And I don't know if Miami's worn out. Just not the same team. They have not recovered from what happened out here on the West Coast, what the Chargers did to Tua. and how they defended him. They're 8-6, and they desperately need a win, just like Green Bay needs a win. So that's going to be an interesting game. You got Philadelphia, Dallas. Cowboys are not running the football right now very well, and that kind of puts even more on Dak Prescott's shoulders. Now, Dallas thinks it's getting healthy, thinks it's getting Tyron Smith, their star left tackle, back for that game. Because Philadelphia does not have Jalen Hurts, and the big debate in Philadelphia, do they play him at all in the last 3 weeks of the regular season? And, I mean, they're sitting there at 13-1. They're going to probably finish with the top record in the NFC, home field advantage. Do you risk getting him out there? Hurts wants to play. Now, he's not practiced this week. He's not going to play this week. So what does Philadelphia do? We talked about Cincinnati, New England. Seattle's in desperate straits. Despite the tremendous statistical season that Geno Smith has had, they got to go play Kansas City, and Seattle's kind of skidded a little bit in recent times. And I'll tell you what I'm really looking forward to. Somebody's going to come out of this one with a black eye. Maybe both teams will. San Francisco's really rugged defense, which has kind of dragged Ron Rivera's team back into the playoff conversation. Washington, San Francisco. That's going to be an interesting battle. Who's a tougher guy? 49er defense, Commanders defense. That's going to be a really fun game. And of course, Baker Mayfield starting for San Francisco, third quarterback in their equation too. So yeah, interesting weekend. And we're kind of running out of calendar here. We're running out of games. And there's a bunch of teams that are just a world of hurt right now in terms of wildcard playoff spots. These guys are screwing this thing up. And these guys are now in desperate straits with 3 weekends to go.
Yeah, well, huge win last night for Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, and I thought a big performance for him individually going up against a very good defense outdoors on the road where they hadn't been good. And they're, of course, 1 game back of the Titans, now a half game back of the Titans, and get the Titans in Week 18, so it will be good. Geez, we've got some thanks to give out for the Super Chats. And, of course, Marbles is open, by the way, folks. Exclamation mark Marbles in the chat. We'll get to the race and the qualifier coming up right away. Hacksaw, just before we go, and again, a Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for always being with us. I know you'll be all over this on the site as well, but we should mention the loss of the great Pittsburgh Steeler running back Franco Harris, who passed away earlier this week.
Yeah, let me just give you a quick comment about that. In the history of modern-day NFL, I'm going to talk about George Halas and Red Grange and back in the day. In the modern-day NFL, I think there's probably 3 events that really signified the growth of the National Football League. In 1958, first game on television, Baltimore Colts, New York Giants championship game at Yankee Stadium. Alan Amici scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime, a phenomenal game. And that kind of set a precedence of the National Football League on television. That was item 1. Item 2, probably the Holy Roller controversy game between the Raiders and the then San Diego Chargers. Ted Hendricks moving the ball down the field, et cetera, et cetera. And I think item 3 is the Immaculate Reception. You go back and you look at that game and its impact and the fierceness of the rivalry with the Raiders and the Steelers, and what Franco Harris did picking up that ball and taking it the length of the field for the game-winning touchdown. Those are the 3 most significant events outside of the Heidi game on television that kind of identify the National Football League. And I'll tell you, I met him when he was a running back at Penn State. He was paired with another running back by the name of Lydell Mitchell. They started together in the backfield. The most amazing thing I've ever seen in college football is like a freight train. I broadcast a game at Beaver Stadium. Those 2 guys between them ran for almost 300 yards. So, he was a tremendous player. He's done unbelievable things for charitable foundation causes in Pittsburgh. Scholarships for inner city kids, food banks, hospitals. I mean, what a great human being. And also in the height of the mess at Penn State, the Jerry Sandusky case, he stood up. He was one of the few Penn State players that stood up in public defense of the greatness of Joe Paterno. And whether or not Paterno was guilty of mistakes or not understanding what was going on, Franco was one of the few guys who did. And when you think of the Steelers, 2 things you should think of, Hustler. 1, Immaculate Reception. 2, terrible towel. They all go hand in hand. And Franco was the last piece of the franchise put together by Chuck Noll that got 4 rings. They had Bradshaw, they had Swan, they had Stallworth, they had Jack Lambert in the steel curtain defense, and Franco was the last piece of the puzzle. Not bad for a converted fullback, and great player, hell of a guy.
You are a hell of a guy, my friend. All the best to you and your family. Thanks so much, folks. Make sure to check out the Lee Hacksaw Hamilton YouTube channel. Give us a sub there and check out the website. And hopefully, Lee will be able to touch base next week if you've got some time heading into New Year's and another big week in the NFL. But in the meantime, have a great Christmas.
Well, I appreciate all that you've given me and the opportunity to do this, talk to people in Canada. But here's the thing. If you're going to dress like that, you're going to wear that gear.
Getting ready
and
for
I'm
the
going to
MVP.
wear this and say, Merry Christmas to everybody in Winnipeg. Hustle, have a great holiday, and we'll catch up to you next week.
You're the best. Hacksaw areas, folks. LeeHacksawHamilton.com on Twitter or on the internet. And of course, you can check out his Twitter as well at Hacksaw1090. All right. We got some thank yous to throw out. First up, I got to give a big thank you to our friends, the Nick and Nikki DQ. I actually have to pop by for a little pickup. Little ice cream cake for Christmas dinner. Of course, we're going to get it from Nick and Nikki DQ. 4 locations: DQ Niverville, DQ Northgate, DQ Polo Park, DQ St. Anne's, and kind of the best of both worlds. Get a great ice cream cake for a family gathering and maybe jump on a stack burger while we're there as well. Listen, Nick and Nikki have been great for us and probably one of our most popular sponsors with many of you as well. Pop down and see them over the course of the holidays. Some great new Blizzard flavors as well. And of course, don't sleep on those burgers. They're amazing. But at DQ Manitoba, if you want to get a custom DQ ice cream cake made up going into the new year, you know where they are at. And of course, with New Year's just around the corner and many family gatherings, if you haven't hit the beer store yet, when you do, make sure you check out the incredible offerings from our friends at Little Brown Jug, Winnipeg's favorite local brew. 1919, of course, is the flagship brand, but there's a number of great new ones, including the Holiday Good Times Variety Pack. And might I suggest, if you have time, pop down to the Exchange, William Avenue location, brewery and tap room. Great spot to get together with a friend over the holidays as well. You can try them all. You can grab what you like in cans, in packs, and check out that great merchandise as well. A huge happy holidays and a safe holidays to all of you and our friends at Little Brown Jug Brewing. You can check them out for citywide delivery as well at littlebrownjug.ca. All right. Remo, Marbles is open right now. We will get to Cool Bet lines in a minute, but holy smokes, we've got some major thank yous to get out. Having a tough time keeping track of all these super chats, but the generosity of our WST listeners is blowing me away today, dude. Thanks, Jerry. That's so nice of you. Very generous super chat. Shout out, Trav.
I'm muted. Shit. Sorry, I was muted. I'll start that again.
Okay, well, I've got the list right here. I mean, we've got Ken 007. Thank you so much. Schickster. Hugh Wachenko, shout out Hugh. It was great meeting you at that game a little while back, and we appreciate it. One Bird Oak, fun guy. The Freezer himself, Ryan Friesen. Really nice one from Jerry Beluta. Thanks so much. Dan Jets fan as well. My guy Travis, what up, Trav? And of course, Jet Oil Tom. And I see that Eric Bayer has gifted 10 Winnipeg Sports Talk memberships. That's such a cool way of supporting the channel. Thanks so much, Eric. And then a beautiful one, a great one from my guy, Chris Vermette. All the best this holiday season, boys. Thanks for keeping us entertained every afternoon. Thank you, Chris, for being us throughout it. And Bobby B coming through. Thanks, Michael, Andrew, and all the great guests and everyone in the chat. They came fast and furious. I hope we didn't miss anyone, but man, that is just wonderful, wonderful generosity, and I can't tell you how it makes us feel knowing the way you guys have supported us as we get ready for our second anniversary, if you can believe that, Remis, in just over a couple months.
Yeah, pretty crazy. There's Derek W. come in with a super chat.
What's
Merry
up, Derek?
Christmas, says the beers. And yeah, I was muted, and I was just giving shout outs, reading the great messages from Coachy, Ken, Ryan Friesen, Jerry Beluta, who said Dan Jets fan, Travis, Jet Oil Tom, Schickster, and you said Hugh, One Bird, Eric, Bobby B, Derek, Christopher Metz. So many super chats here. It's hard to keep track of. This is crazy.
Could be some good karma for the marble race coming up. Folks, last call for marbles. If you haven't already, make sure you throw in ! marbles, and we'll get it going right away. While Remis finishes that up and closes it off, let me get to our cool bet lines for tonight in the National Hockey League. Jets and Capitals. The Jets are a plus 137 underdog. Caps are minus 162. Both teams played last night. And to be honest, I think the Capitals traveled further than the Jets did, going from Ottawa to Washington than the Jets going from Boston to Washington. That being said, the big number tonight is going to be on who's scoring goals, and is it Alex Ovechkin? Alex Ovechkin's number to tie Gordie Howe's record is plus 105. We know the success that he's had in the past against the Winnipeg Jets, and his total goals to get over 1.5, which would mean breaking the record outright tonight, plus 460. Certainly hoping that doesn't happen tonight, but I'm going to have to say it probably is quite likely that it will. Other games tonight, Bruins are back at it against the Devils. Bruins minus 123, Devils plus 105. Flyers, a massive road underdog against the Carolina Hurricanes. Canes minus 328. We got the Panthers and Islanders. Oh, another blown third period lead for Maurice and the Panthers last night. They're sitting at 500 right now. Panthers minus 131. The Islanders, a home dog at plus 111. That number doesn't make sense to me. Maybe there's a little bit of value on the Islanders tonight. I'll have to take a look at that one. Dallas hosting the Habs. Dallas minus 286 tonight. Central Division matchup between the Avalanche and Predators. Avalanche minus 122 favorites on the road. Nashville, a home dog at plus 104. Blue Jackets and Blackhawks, basically a pick'em. Blackhawks, a very slight underdog. Blue Jacks minus 110. And Vancouver and the Edmonton Oilers. That's an interesting one. Vancouver with a thrilling comeback win last night against the Seattle Kraken. Was keeping an eye on that game last night as well. Oilers minus 216. Canucks plus 180. Kings and Coyotes coming up at 8:30 tonight. LA minus 167, Arizona plus 141. Blues and Golden Knights, Vegas a minus 157 favorite at home. And the final game of the pre-Christmas portion of the schedule is the Calgary Flames at minus 225, the Anaheim Ducks at plus 190. Just a quick update on the Stanley Cup odds. And you know, the Jets are still right there in the middle of the pack at 45-1. You'll recall they opened up, were 80-1 going into the season. A few weeks ago, it improved to 50-1. But it seems like it's taken a little while for the Jets to get in the neighborhood of some of the other teams they're ahead of right now in the standings. Minnesota's 35, Calgary's 25 right now. Hell, the Florida Panthers, who we've talked about, who were out of a playoff spot, are 26-1. So maybe that's a nice little sprinkle to make for yourself, dreaming of a parade in Winnipeg. 45-1 right now with the Jets at cool bet to win the Stanley Cup. Obviously, that's a long shot, but certainly fun to talk about. Quick update on these NFL games right now. This Saints-Cleveland game that we've talked about is going to be crazy with the wind, with the cold. The total for this, lowest since 2008 in an NFL game. 32 points is the number. The Vikes are 4-point favorites at home against the Giants. Chiefs laying 10 against the Seahawks right now. Bengals laying 3 on the road against the favorite. Of course, all the lines are there. If you haven't checked out the Lock Shop, go to the YouTube channel or our Twitter for the link on all of our picks, including best bets for the weekend. And if you haven't played a cool bet before, use the promo code WST, and we will get you hooked up with a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200. All right, marbles time. And holy smokes, Randy D with a very generous super chat. Randy, thank you so much. To my favorite sports guys, Mary. Right back at you, Randy. And thanks so much for the support. That's a very, very generous gift. All right, Remo, how are we looking? How's the tech operation going for this marble race today?
Yeah, I'm just like ashamed that I had myself muted while reading all the super chat, but it's going good. We got a good theme today here from Tristan.
Oh, I cannot wait. Another gift to all of the WST listeners from Tristan and Candace. They're on our nice list. Like if we had to do the naughty and nice list, there's always been a little naughty in the chat, but at the top of the nice list, Tristan Rivers Music and Candace Jane for the videos and of course the incredible versions of the Marbles theme.
Yeah, I'm just closing all my tabs. People are getting on me for having so many tabs open and sewering the marble race, whatever day that was. That was pretty frustrating. Anyways, I'm getting all names. I'll tell you how many entries we have as we open it up, and we are 248 entries.
Whoa, nice. Okay, everyone, if you're in the marble race, definitely make sure you are subscribed to the channel, press that red button, and come on, give us a little holiday thumbs up here for the Christmas show and the marble race.
Yeah, shout out to MC Stormy and Phyllis, who are in here every day, making sure everyone hits the thumbs up, trying to get us over 200. It's pretty incredible.
Phyllis and Stormy always have our backs. We know that.
Like those thumbs ups really help. They're really helpful. And telling YouTube, hey, we got great content here, and it'll show it to more people. And so we're trying to get to 9K subs. We're at 8,500. I'd like to get to 10K at some point. So it's slowed down a bit, but the thumbs up, the hitting the button, it definitely helps us. And we're so thankful for all that. And all you guys who come here every day. And, it's fun chatting. We've got a great community here. Are you looking at the Blue Jays trade?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. We've got a bit of breaking news right now, folks. Ding, ding, ding. Breaking news. A Christmas gift for you Blue Jays fans. A big trade. So 4 minutes ago, Jeff Passan breaking the Toronto Blue Jays and Arizona Diamondbacks are in agreement on a trade that will send outfielder Dalton Varsho to the Blue Jays for a package that includes top catching prospect Gabriel Moreno, sources tell ESPN. Remo, fill us in. Instant reaction, Dalton Varsho.
Dalton Varsho that good? He's an outfielder last year. I'll pull him up on my favorite site, Fangraphs. Right now, we can look at his numbers quickly here. It was first full season last year. We can go, what he had, 748 to 745 OPS. Seems like okay bad outfielder.
27 bombs, 74 RBIs on a very, very bad team.
Yeah. So what he had, 302 OBP. I'm trying to look at his walk percentage. He strikes out, 24% of the time last year. I don't know. He seems like he's a solid player. I don't know if he's like super above average. I mean, I'll be honest, like my baseball the last couple of years has gone, since having like kids and stuff, it's gone
First
down.
guy ever to have a kid. Doesn't watch baseball anymore. No clue.
So Hugh says his WAR is 4.9, so it's possible he's way better, way better defensively. Pull up the defense number here as I dig into
here the big part of this for me is that they're trading Moreno, which has always been sort of one of their big trade chips. Is last year the top prospect in baseball. I love this though. I mean, as long as the guy, this Varsho, they're coming back, can be a big part of their future, I think it's a nice deal, because I was very worried about the Blue Jays trading Alejandro, and you cannot trade Alejandro Kirk. Kirk is the hot water tank with legs. He's one of the best hitters. He's just such a fun guy to have on the squad right now. And I would have been, and I think a lot of Jays fans would have been heartbroken if Kirk went the other way. So Kirk and Danny Jansen presumably stick around. They move that chip with Moreno and get a guy that obviously the team was pretty high on.
Yeah, just looking at I think he's a pretty good outfielder here. So, we'll have to. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. This is like instant reaction.
Yeah, we'll get someone on the show next week. Robert Flores, though, I love Flores. Love this for both teams, especially the Blue Jays. Varshaw's a lefty bat they desperately need, and the D-backs are going to be better than you think this season. All right, anyways, we got something that we need to do far more important than any massive trade in the major leagues, and that is another qualifying race for the Marbles Tournament of Champions. Again, if you haven't qualified, you're listening on the podcast, you weren't able to get in, go to winnipegsportstalk.com/marbles. You can get in for one of the final spaces in next Friday's race for the Blue Bomber season tickets, courtesy of our great friends at Consolidated Supply. But Remo, listen, are we ready for today's theme from Tristan?
Yeah, I'm just adding it. Yeah, one more thing about Var. Yeah, grades as elite outfielder, and with Varsho, now Kevin Kiermaier and Springer. I mean, that's a pretty damn good outfield with guys who are all, can play center field. So, he's hit the 27 bombs, but I think you're getting the defense, big defense here.
Yeah, they're talking about three guys right now that can play center field. So hopefully the defense, and that's sort of a bit of an offense for defense trade, swapping out Teoscar and Gurriel for Varsho and Kiermaier.
Yeah, still decent bat. I don't think it's like, 740 OPS, I guess, is solid, but
still young though. I mean, and being that lefty in that lineup with all those righty bats could also be advantageous to him as well.
They've needed a lefty for a long time.
Got it. All right, let's get going with a holiday special version of the Marbles theme song on Winnipeg Sports Talk before we drop it and qualify another 3 listeners and viewers for next week's championship race in the Consolidated Supply Winnipeg Sports Talk Tournament of Champions. Tristan Rivers, take it away.
It's a holiday, a time for celebrations night. Before you stop to treat yourself, there's something you gotta do one more time. On the whole weekend, no one even on the line. 0 effort left to give, except a 245. One more time, send a new marble race. No skill separating best to worst. Marble race, just type marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race, don't spam unless it's Oleg's victory lap. Marble race, you do your part, then that's a wrap. Ho, ho, ho.
Just kidding, that's lame. But we were all thinking that.
Set, go.
Oh my God, Tristan, you're the best, buddy. That was incredible, and the fact that we have had all of these different themes for the marble race throughout the Tournament of Champions has been truly incredible. But the Christmas version with some special lyrics for the holidays, maybe take the cake, Remo. That was just keeps on raising the bar. I can't believe it.
I can't believe that he's done a new one of these like every day in all these different styles. Extremely talented to do that. Really, I'm really impressed every day. I love getting those in my inbox.
In all sincerity, we cannot thank Tristan enough, and of course Candace, and we've got a little something for you guys under the tree as well. We'll get in touch with you, but thank you so much for that. Just keeps getting better, and that was special. All right, we're going back to the Temple of Steve tonight.
People were requesting the Temple of Steve, so
all right. Well, top 3 marbles are qualifying for next Friday's marble race, and I will promise to you folks, we were waiting on those other 3. We will have another opportunity before Friday next week to qualify if you don't make it in today. So make sure to join us Wednesday and Thursday, maybe for an extra race, because we've got a couple extra marbles to put in. We want to make sure we do, and we've had so much fun with this. So without further ado, race 12 in the Marbles Tournament of Champions before next Friday's final. Bomber season tickets is what will be given away next Friday to whoever wins. Today, the top 3 marbles are in the championship race. And If we've got a size for our winner, we'll also hook you up with a hoodie. Without further ado, Remo, let's drop it in the Temple of Steve for our final act pre-Christmas on WST. All right, here we go. Oh, you know what, Remo? And I'm seeing it way better. I can actually, sometimes it comes in really pixelated. Today, I can see the names really well. It's great. Looks like Shelley Dahlman with a nice start. You got a special guest in on the show right now, checking out the marbles. Shelley Dahlman, huge start by Shelley. Huge start by Shelley. I think Remo has a bit of company right now for the marble race. Let's see what's going on. Shelley Dahlman, huge start. Although getting caught up a little bit by the race, but nope, Shelley's through. But man, Ilya Siegel with a really nice start. Shelley is still in first place. Ilya Siegel's in good. Doug Phil's in the mix. Brad Woods. All right, now we're cooking right now. But Shelley continues to lead the way. A dominating performance so far. Ilya Siegel. He ends right now. Okay, now it's getting a little more. The Sippa, Will's World. Shelley Dahlman continuing to lead the way. The Sima, and looks like Chris Oberton as well. This has been an absolute clinic in the Temple of Steve right now from Shelley with that great start. We'll see whether... Oh! The Sima now in first place. Shelley took one big time from that spinning rod. Brad Woods in the mix. Tedward Bear as well, I believe, in third place right now. Me just got smoked. Kevin Kowalik. Oh, there goes Bozeman. Bose. Okay, the Temple of Steve. This one could go either way. Will the Sima get in it? No! Oh! It's going back and forth. Now it's going the other way. Who's going to get in first? Oh, everyone's going all around it. Who got it? Oh, the Temple of Steve. So many victims. So many victims. But Bruce H. is the winner. Brad Woods coming in second. And Brad Kerbison third. The rest of the top 10. Jeff Bose, Rob Cain. What up, Rob? Goody Gravy, Craig Smith, Eric Bayer, D20, and Eagle Eyes. Oh my God, that was a serious lump of coal for a number of people that were probably there first, Remo, but just couldn't get it in because of the unique nature of the Temple and Steve and the rotating basket to get in for the win.
The unique nature of, I like that. I think I saw like Derek Honer and Tristan Rivers were so close, but it was moving away just as they fell down. I think Bruce H was in yesterday as one of the top 3, so he will get the T-shirt.
Is that true? Let's see.
I've got to double check my email. Let me check my email here. I'm pretty sure. Hold on. I'm bringing it up.
From yesterday's show?
What are people in the chat saying? I believe, yes, Bruce H was in yesterday, so he'll get the T-shirt.
Wow, back-to-back qualifying. Back-to-back qualifying for Bruce H. Well, I'll tell you what, that is excellent. That'll give us another spot to give out next week on the program. Back-to-back is right. That is something. Craig Smith, close, 7th, best finish. Well, Gregory, once again, illegal track. Well, Greg, people wanted the Temple of Steve. I don't think we'll do the Temple of Steve for the finals, that's for sure. That would be a little too controversial, but yeah. It was a heck of a way. Gregory, you got in the top 30. You didn't get thrown over the top rope, so it wasn't too bad. A lot of people did at the end. But yes, Brad Woods, amazing what can happen when the marble stays on the track. That is right. All right, great stuff, everybody. Well, listen, we're going to get to that. Of course, join us on Wednesday. We'll have more leading up to Friday's grand finale of the month of marbles, the Tournament of Champions, if you will. And we will have another chance to qualify before we do the big race coming up on Friday. But I think right now, this is just a great time once again to thank you all for the incredible support all year long. I see Ron P's in there as well. Thanks. Happy holidays. Thanks for all you do every day. Guys, cannot thank you enough. And of course, Randy for that really generous super chat. Wherever you are celebrating and whoever you are celebrating with, may you have a wonderful next few days with friends and family. Staying warm, staying safe. If you are out and about, make sure you're using an Uber or getting a ride if you're tipping it a little bit. But hey, this is the time of the year to get together with friends to stay warm. And by the way, we've got some amazing football coming up over the next couple days. So if you're someone that doesn't have a lot going on, you certainly are. You've certainly got a lot of options when it comes to laying down on the couch and enjoying a couple days off. Tony Dean, what up? Welcome to membership. But Remo, man, a great week and best of the season to you and yours. Happy Hanukkah to the growing family, and hopefully you guys have a great few days at home, and hopefully it warms up by the time we're back on the air on Wednesday.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone who's come out and made this show so much fun to be a part of, because I think it was just me and you, and we didn't have the chat and people listening. We wouldn't really be anything here, just be two guys. So
yeah,
this is it's great coming in here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to everyone out there.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, when we first started this, I kind of thought that this would be very similar to the warm-up or ride. We just kind of record it and we do it. And Remo, to your credit, say, hey, if we're going to do it, let's do it on YouTube. It'll be cool. And the way that this chat has grown and the connections that we've all made and the fun we have with all of you every day is amazing. And it was like a little bit of a Christmas party today. Tristan Rivers music again, unbelievable marbles theme. And Brennan, I'm right there with you, buddy. Good luck us with Goddard. I'll be cheering. Yeah, Evan Ingram went off a little bit last night. Didn't get into the end zone, though, but hopefully we'll see what happens. Yeah, if you're still alive in fantasy football playoffs, good luck. Again, if you want to know some of the picks, check the lock shop going into tomorrow. But otherwise, folks, have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, wherever you are celebrating. And don't miss next week. We'll be back on Wednesday. We will have another chance to qualify for Friday's big marble race. And, of course, we've got some big games. We'll be recapping the Jets in Minnesota, the next home game after tonight in the Christmas break. Looking ahead to Vancouver coming to town on Thursday. And then a New Year's Eve game for the Winnipeg Jets in Edmonton against Connor McDavid and the Oilers. Tonight, though, see if they can keep Ovi from tying Gordie Howe. That game starts at 6 p.m. tonight. Of course, have a great, great weekend, a great Christmas, and we will see you on Wednesday back after the holidays on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Enjoy, everyone, and stay warm.
It's the holiday, the time for celebrations night. Before you stop to treat yourself, there's something you gotta do one more time. On the whole weekend, with no one even on the line. Zero effort left to give, except a 2:45. One more time, send a new marble race. No skill separating best to worst. Marble race, just type marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race, don't spam unless it's Oleg's victory lap. Marble race, you do your part, then that's a wrap. Ho, ho, ho.
Just kidding, that's lame. But we were all thinking that.
Set, go!
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.